Rebbe writes that this, when he was a kid, a child, never a kid, a child. Actually, the Rebbe said, didn't know how to blow shofar. So he said, why? Because no one knows how to blow shofar. When they were children, they used to play with the shofar and blow shofar. We became a continuous to them. Anyways, when he was very young, there was a time when once a year there was a Farbrengen between the Shbats, and the Chogar Alter. We used to have a private Farbrengen. One night they would get together, no one was allowed to be in the room, they would go outside, everyone would leave, and they would sit and Farbrengen themselves. The Rebbe writes, was curious, what are they talking about that no one could hear? It's something special. So what did he do? So as a child, he got into the room wherever the room was supposed to be. The room was open. He went under a bench and lay down, so that when they will sit down to Farbrengen, he'll be able to be there. Like this, they wouldn't let anybody in. He describes he was laying under the bench, and everyone knows the Rebbe wrote on himself that he's an Istanis. He grew up in Spanish. I mean, what I mean. And so he was laying on the floor there, and there were, he says, nit gute, they used to call mice. Mice crawling around with this, and disgusting for him. Nevertheless, Mesiras Nefesh, he lay there to see what's happening by this Farbrengen, what are they going to talk about? He's waiting, finally came the time, they told everyone to go out. They locked the door, and Friedrich's laying, looking from the side under the bench, no one saw him. He sees, what's going to happen here? Sees they sat down, ready to come in. One of them took out a kleine sotke. A sotke is a little bottle, or these shikurim little bottles that they have, they drink flask. Took out a flask from his pocket, and there were 2 cups. He was sitting on one side of the table, sitting on the other side of the table. He filled it up. He was late. I think he said l'chaim. He didn't say l'chaim. The freak was waiting there. What are they going to discuss? And he's waiting and waiting. And they're sitting across each other, not saying a word. Waiting and waiting an hour, not saying a word. And then one of them started crying. Tears started coming down his eyes. And then the other one started crying. And he was crying like this for a few hours. Not one word was said. Then they took the mashke that was left in the cup, poured it back into the bottle. That's how the Farbrengen finished. In other words, I want to say the Farbrengen doesn't depend on what the speak said. It's only normal that together someone should speak, but speak is what happens to yourself. So sometimes you do it without speaking. You sit down and you make a cheshbon nefesh and you see where you're holding at and what you have to do. That's really what a Farbrengen is supposed to accomplish. It's supposed to take what you understand in your mind and bring it down l'maaseh. In other words, someone once asked me, what is Mishpim talk by Farbrengen? Did you see this? What happens by a shir? Shpiya gives a shir, they also talk different. What's the difference? The difference is that you have the tomatoes and you have the fruit. That's the difference. That's the whole difference here. By a shir, if you give by a shir, you give some food, but also it became holy. The answer is that the shir is something that's a seichel. Something you learn, you understand. And if Farbrengen is how to take it from the seichel, from the brain, and bring it down inside to your heart. Like this, we know that from the brain to the heart, middle is a Meitzer HaGoren. We learned that in Siddur. There is the Meitzer HaGoren. It narrows down the cup, there's all kinds of great things. You make up your mind. By the time it comes down and narrows down, it comes to the heart, it comes to the hands. It's nothing. So when you learn, you're learning only intellectually, so it's in your mind. The Farbrengen is to take whatever Chassidus learn, all the elements, to bring it down to Maisa. Now, who brings it down? Yourself. There's nobody else that can do it for you. But yeah, sometimes a person using the modern logic to inspire you. But that's you have to. In other words, before you start anything, you have to know what the goal is. It's the mindset that you have to have. What am I looking for to happen? Is it just to happen that we have good Chabaisen? It's a Lashon the Sikha from the Rebbe Rashabi says, "What's meintira? The mashke is megashem. If Farbrengen is megashem, mashke is not megashem. The Farbrengen was megashem." But that's not what it is. It's this they need to realize that there has to be some sincerity, something serious here. And Ba'atzim can be done by itself. You don't have to have someone speaking, but to put your mind to it and to start thinking about yourself and thinking what can you change or what do you have to change, etc., etc. Especially when it's not far from Gimel Tammuz. That's especially as Mama Sudo. Now it's Yud-Beis Tammuz. Yud-Beis Tammuz is till Gimel Tammuz. Yud-Beis Tammuz was a very, very strong yontif. After Gimel Tammuz, now it's Tammuz took over the Yud-Beis Tammuz was the freaking around the jail and the freaking around Lo Yasi Go Vad Go like a Borach, but all the Yin Kol Hashem B'Shem Yisrael. So it's a special day to think how to regale yourself, what to do for yourself. And just also this, talk about Yud-Beis Tammuz, this reminds you of the way the Yidden in Russia, the Mesiras Nefesh they had. Because the Frierdiker Rebbe was the one that gave him the Keich of Mesiras Nefesh and brought this Mesiras Nefesh. So you know, why am I saying this? Because when we were walking up here, it just reminded me, I haven't felt this way for a long time. Walking up a group, walking up to a building, walking up in an apartment. When I went to Russia over 40 years ago, I went to Shlichus. It was all underground. Communism was very strong still at that time. It was much before Perestroika and all the other things. So she was very. Who was the Gorbachev? This was Brezhnev. I forgot who was the prime minister there. And Inyonim in Russia was pretty bad. And I went there. Went with my wife and son to Russia to Shuri in the cities, to Ziegler, to bring more Yiddishkeit into the thing. It was underground. So I remember the day we came. It was the day before Taina Sester. And Taina Sester at night, after the tunnel, there would be a Farbrengen in someone's house. I was supposed to Farbrengen. So I remember we were going to someone's house, it was in the building. Like this in other places, more like private homes. The Farbrengens that take place in shul or in yeshiva or something, but Farbrengen in a house, and nowadays more seldom thing. It's the right thing to do, but it's more seldom. But in Russia, then obviously the Farbrengens was only in the and Farbrengens had to be very quiet. And we were walking to the Farbrengen, and we had a whole bunch of people walking, but we made up that we were going to go slowly, like 2 people, and then another 2 people later. When we were walking here, it was reminding me of Mamish way I was walking then, and when we came to the building, on the bottom floor, and the ground floor was sitting Alta Goya. Alta Goya, she must have been like 85. She was like the guard or somewhere. She was sitting there. What was the purpose? To see what's going on in the building. And if she would see anything fishy, right away, the first thing she would do is call the KGB. So we made up that we're going to go slowly. She shouldn't realize that there is a gathering happening here. So the moment there's a gathering in someone's private house, it's already a big problem, and you go to jail for it. You can't do that. Unless you prove it was a party, but it was any other type of gathering. So we went slowly. 2 guys went up. 5 minutes later, 5 minutes later, other 2 people went up. After about a half hour, 45 minutes, the whole group is sitting there. Remember, we were sitting cheder lifnim and cheder, and I hadn't broken my fast yet, I remember, and I didn't want to eat any of the food because I saw they didn't have much themselves, so I should eat their food. I came to Russia to eat their food. Mashke, I plenty. So I had a glass of mashke, and I broke my fast with a glass of mashke. Actually, before I left, the group that went before me, the Rebbe gave them a bottle of mashke. So I was expecting them to give us a bottle of mashke. So before we left, so I asked Rabbi Groner. So he said, I'm going to get into the Rebbe after Mincha, I'll ask it. It comes out after Mincha. It's the day before we left. So I asked the Rebbe said like this. Purim is a day that you drink mashke. They're going to a Medina Shekula mashke. Why? The customer will wonder, why are you bringing mashke from America? So I'd rather not say mashke. The Rebbe was careful. So it's a Medina Shekula mashke. So mashke was plenty, so I took a glass of mashke, broke my fast on the mashke. Tafshin Mem, I think. And glass of mashke. I was talking. And guess what? In the middle of the talking, there was a knock on the door. We were sitting in a room within a room. So we heard from the outer that there was a knock on the door. As soon as there was a knock on the door, you know what it meant those days? It's a knock on your heart. Everyone got very, yes, who got scared the most? So, the host of the thing went out, became very pale with his apartment. And and he comes back. And the story was the Alta Goya that was sitting downstairs noticed, as much as we tried to hide it, noticed that there's something going on in the house. So she came upstairs and she said what she's doing is she's going to call the KGB for this Aveda. He got very nervous. What he did was he took the bottle of mashkin, took the glass, a big glass, bigger than this, filled it up, and he turns around to me. I don't know what language we were able to speak in Hebrew. Zeh lahamtik adinim. He walks out, takes a few minutes, he comes back, empty glass. That's what happened. How did it get empty? The Goya drank it up. The whole Goya drank up the whole glass. And he turns around to me and he says, Od lo nimtu. Didn't do a job. Full glass, goes out, comes back with an empty glass. Ach, Shadlan nimtu. Word. He was speaking Hebrew? Yes. So this is how they live. This is how they live. Anyway, later more that happened that I felt very remember when I walk in now, down the street, a group of people walking up here, it reminded me, walking down and going to the building and being afraid that KGB is going to come and rescue for Farbrengen. Don't. They're not going to do that already. You're good to go.
Smarty police.
Good.
The name word.
Maybe Shapiro was something. You good.
Son buenos. Show me the ball. Trying to improve. I didn't want to be the whole thing white because I knew you guys. You see? Está vaina. ¿Qué te doy, papá? Your Spanish is good, man.
The Yeshiva from the Rebbe will describe what they serve by the Farbrengen, by the Rebbe. Hamidor. I think he says it. Pickles for sure. We'll give you this. Excuse me.
So who wants it? Who wants?
Free was pickles. That was pickles.
After Gimel Tammuz, Tov $. So I remember came back after Shiva came back. I remember I was standing outside our shul one night. I was coming home, and the car stops. And who comes out of the car? Rabbi Stern. Used to be a Rebbe in Miami called Rabbi Stern. Used to call him Tibor Stern. His name was Tuvia Stern. He was sweating. He picked up his Tוכן. And he stops me and he said, "Oh, I want to speak to you." What do you want to say? What's going to happen now to the shluchim? Look at the halacha. Mesa mishaleach, what lahashlichus? Someone sends somebody as shliach to give a kedushin to somebody. There's no mashlichus. If he's not around anymore, there's no mashlichus. No, you start telling him, somebody the gashmi is but Rafael Mamish, the Rebbe is with us, and all is good to ruchnis the gezachen. But the Ma'aseh Peil, halacha, you don't deal halacha with the ruchnis. He didn't even know that the Rebbe Tovshin Yud, the Rebbe spoke a whole year that the Rebbe is with us. The Rebbe is with us. The gashmi said, Alzheimer's, the Rebbe said. Came Pesach to the Seder, the Rebbe did a Seder. In front of the Friedrich Rebbe, the Rebbe didn't do a Seder. Because in front of the Rebbe, you don't do a Seder. Tovshin Yud Pesach, the Rebbe did a Seder. So someone asked him, because it was set up, those that were there, remember. Remember how they set up after, by the Rebbe, because all the Yom Tevim, he ate the Suda, Yom Tev, upstairs in the same apartment of the Friedrich Rebbe, sat on the same place. The front was the Friedrich Rebbe's place. They had their chair and they had the matzah there. And the Rebbe said on this side, the Shach said on that, everything done the same. And the Rebbe did HaSefer, like this and everything HaSefer. So they asked the Rebbe, and he said, till now, from Yud Shvat till Pesach, he kept on talking that the Rebbe is with us. So how do you do HaSefer? So he said, about the Rebbe is with us. Over the Ma'aseh La'alocha, the Gashmis is not here, that's what La'alocha, you got to do it. He didn't know that, but he just asked me on his own. Don't tell me any Ma'aseh Beruchnis, I understand that's true. He wasn't trying to criticize. He tried to understand. He said, but tell me, how do you work this out in halacha? But the shliach is a shliach, if there's no mishaleach, how can it be a shliach? So, I don't know, sometimes you have mazel. I had a mazel, and an idea came to my mind on the spot. I had a mazel. Say that Rebbe Rashab once said to somebody that yesterday a guy came into me from this, and he asked me pshat in a Rasha, Vorf in a Rasha someplace in the Gemara, someplace far, and he asked me pshat. So the Rebbe said, "Benich doch a bar mazel." From yesterday I learned that Rasha. So he's a bar mazel. So I said to him, I'll tell you what the pshat. It says in the Gemara clearly. I beg you must give me, but sometimes it's okay. It says in Gemara that since we don't have smicha, the smicha was bottled. So we don't have the official smicha. What they call a smicha now is a piece of paper. I feel like the real smicha is only the shoes to fasten, but it's not that they give you smicha. But the real smicha that used to be smicha that he used to give ishmit b'ishmit b'meisher Rabbeinu doesn't exist anymore, and therefore we can't pass in dina knoses. Knas, anything that's a knas, we can't pass in. But then the Gemara asks, so how could you pass in not knas, dina mominus? We can't pass. We have to have a bezin that's somuch. We're not somuch. So the Gemara answers, and what did it answer? The Gemara answers that shlichusayu the kamoya avdina. We are shluchim. The bezin that's now are shluchim of the bezin before, of the bezin that's Sanhedrin. That's it. The Sanhedrin was bottled in Tveria 2,000 years ago. How are we shluchim now from that back? And the Gemara says that we're shluchim. No answer. What's the pshat? No, forget about the Rebbe Zachen, the Chassidish, the Lubavitch Zachen. What's the answer to the kasha? How are we shluchim? And the Gemara uses the Lashon. Shluchasaya ka'avdina, we are shluchim. The answer is, the pshat is, and the Mepharshim say this. The answer is because the bezdin is a tzibur, and tzibur loy mes. The tzibur, the Gemara says this in Harius. The Gemara says that when they built the second Beis Hamikdash, they brought a korban chatos. The Gemara wants to know what was the korban for. And the Gemara says it's for the Avodah Zorah that they worship is man nuchat netzach. At the end of Bayis Rishon, they worship the Zorah. So they brought the chatos when they built the second Beis Hamikdash. And the Gemara asks, but so many people are not alive anymore. 70 years. And the din is chatos shemeisu baleo posel. The chatos that the owners died. So how could you give a chatos now? And the Gemara answers, it's a korban tzibur. It's tzibur leimes. It's a korban tzibur. And the community, the tzibur is a separate entity. The tzibur is not made up of yechidus. Physically, it's made up of individuals. But the concept of a tzibur is it's a new entity. That's why he says if someone wants to give away money to the tzibur, to the Beis Hamikdash, Meisrei letzibur, yofe yofe, you have to give up your identity. It becomes a new unit. That unit of the tzibur is one tzibur that's 1,000 years ago, 100 years ago. It's all the same tzibur. They're different individuals, but the individuals don't count. It's a completely tzibur. And since the Sanhedrin represent the tzibur lemes, they're here in Aloha, and we are shluchim. We could be shluchim from that tzibur because the tzibur lemes and the tzibur is here. Even though 2,000 years passed since that tzibur was. So I tell them, Rashi in this week's parsha says, Meisha hu Yisrael v'Yisrael ha-Meisha, Mamish ha-Nosi ha-Dor k'chol ha-Dor. So the Nosi of the door is tzibur. He is the tzibur. But mainly he is here. So just like we say by those Sanhedrin, we say that we now here, Tov Shin Pei Dalet, we are shluchim from them, even though physically the Gashmis, their body is not here, but they are the tzibur of Klal Yisrael, and the tzibur of Klal Yisrael is here, and we are their shluchim. So the same thing I said about the Rebbe, that it's a shluchim because the Rebbe is the tzibur, and anash l'chosayik and al pi halacha, the shlichus continues. It's not a shlichus of a person sent a shliach l'kadosh seisho and mesa mishaleach. The bottle of shlichus here, it's not like that. Because the Mishaleach is here. The Mishaleach is the tzibur. He's the tzibur. And the tzibur is still here. So I'm found such a svara, such as Maisa. And he said, wow. Right? You're right. Right. But like upon it, what I'm trying to bring out here is that we have to remember that this concept of shlichus is here not the same. Even though the pale, the Gashmi is, we don't see the Rebbe, but I'll tell you even more. The Rebbe set up a system that it's the Rebbe doing it. It's more negay, I have to tell you, more negay to Bochum Shluchim, more than the regular Shluchim. Bochum Shluchim have sometimes, you hear the tiny 30 years from people Tammuz. Mainly when the Shlichus of Bochum started, the Rebbe would pick the names. Even if the Rebbe didn't physically pick the names, which I don't know how the first names came, if the Rebbe physically picked the names, certainly when it came to Miami, I don't know who picked the names. But what happened was, I was supposed to, the yeshiva officially was supposed to happen. I was appointed to be the head of the yeshiva. And then I wrote to the Rebbe, so what should I do? The Rebbe said he didn't send shluchim. So I wrote to the Rebbe, so what should I do? Should I go look around for shluchim, look around for bochim, some who wants to go? I didn't know what to do. So I wrote to the Rebbe. You know what the Rebbe answered me? Yaschil mi maskirus. Start with maskirus. So I went to Rabbi Chadakov, who was maskirus, and I said, the Rebbe answered me, okay, leave it up to me. All I know, the next thing is, I heard this is the list of the shluchim. I have no idea who picked it. The truth is, I couldn't care less. Because what do I care if the David Raskin was Matzia the Bochir to the Rebbe, and the Rebbe said, or the Malach Machol was Matzia. You think I care who was Matzia to the Rebbe? But those are possible that the Rebbe picked. But now, years later, 30 years after Gimel Tammuz, is it the same Hamshach of Shlichus? People, Machshov Azores come into their mind sometimes by Bochir Befrat. Bochir Befrat comes out. The Shlichus is, no, it's an imitation. It's not the real thing. But it's not so. It's not so. It's all part of the Rebbe's, I hate to use this word, but I have no other words, the Rebbe's system. And that system is going. And I think the pshat is like this. Again, forgive me if I'm talking English, it's okay. The Gemara says, in Bava Kama, Eishem Mishum Chitzei. If someone starts a fire in one place, and the fire goes on to someone else's house, and it doesn't stop it, the one that started the fire is responsible. Just like if you shoot an arrow, someone pulls the trigger and kills somebody. I pulled the trigger in my house. What are you going to tell me what to do in my house? The bullet went and hit somebody else? Too bad. It's you, and you're chayiv. So if the fire went, it's the same thing. You started the fire in your backyard, but it went, you are chayiv. You're chayiv as long as it could go 10 days, and you are chayiv. Why? So here we have the famous Nemuka Yosef, and Taisra, the Nemuka Yosef asked a good kasha, I'll tell you.
There was an essay about Mashiach.
The shit of Rabbi about
Yes, the Rebbe asked a
Yosef.
right, the Nemuka Yosef. That Nemuka Yosef. So what did the Nemuka Yosef say? The Nemuka Yosef has a kasha, if Eishem Mishum Chitzei means that whatever a fire does, it's as if you're doing it. If it goes on to the next house, you're doing it. How could you light a candle on Friday? It's going into Shabbos. It's as if they're making a fire on Shabbos. And Nemuka Yosef answered, it's not the pshat. The pshat is that whatever it goes on, it's kolul. When you started a fire, all that was kolul in what you did. And I didn't look into the din. But I wonder what is the din if somebody started a fire and passed away and the fire goes on and burns. Is his estate chayiv to pay? Why? Because he did whatever he did before. What's happening now, he did it. The Rebbe started this whole system of shlichus rolling, and whatever happens now is all the Rebbe is doing it. Yes, the Rebbe is doing it, and we have to take it seriously. So aside negay shluchim, you like shluchim, which go on a shlichus someplace, inside bochnim shluchim, which is b'chlal a big chiddush of the Rebbe, sending shluchim to a place. The Rebbe Rashab also did. He sent to Chutayis, he sent to other places, he sent shluchim. But make bochnim shluchim is Rebbe. Like, but Rebbe was the whole thing. When he started the first group of shluchim who went to Australia, Rebbe made such a big fuss over it, sending shluchim to Australia. And when they came back, and the Rebbe said, Farbrengen, before they left, they should say l'chaim before anybody else. Why? They should be rishenim l'chol dor v'shebekdushim. A shliach of the Rebbe, shluch shlom kameisei, rishenim l'chol dor v'shebekdushim. When they came back, 2 years later, the Rebbe said, "Rishenim l'chaim again first." But they finished the shlichus. And the Rebbe said, "Kedusha leizozem imkeim." By Farbrengen, in public, "Kedusha leizozem imkeim." And the Rebbe made a whole big fuss. When they came, everyone knows this. When they came back, and it came Pesach, and the first Seder, the Rebbe asked them if they eat afakamen already, and they said yes. If they understood the Rebbe wanted to eat that. The next day they didn't eat, and they came, and the Rebbe asked again, and they said, and the Rebbe gave him a piece of his afakamen, to the shluchim who went to Australia. And then Rashag asked the Rebbe the next morning, why did he give him? The Rebbe answered, Shteit, you have to give it to B'nai Beisei, and this is my B'nai Beisei, this is my family. And that was the shluchim. So the Rebbe, what the Rebbe did in the beginning, this was the first group of shluchim. There was a kind of shlichus in Toshechov Beis, where he said, Bochem Teretz Yisrael, and then some came from there. It was like an exchange of students. It's a different type. But the first official group of shluchim, Talmidim HaShluchim, that the Rebbe sent for a time being, so not forever, but for a certain time, was Australia. And since that was the first, obviously, this put the yesod, or the whole concept of Talmidim HaShluchim. And the Rebbe made such a big fuss over it, that this is Kedusha Lezosim came at it. So this is Eishe Mushum Chitzei. So who does the fire? It's going down later. He's doing it. So it's all that the Rebbe is doing it. Mainly nobody. I know there are Talmidim HaShluchim here. Even though this is not for bringing a dafke for them, but for me, everybody I'm bringing out. And by the way, anybody who helps the Talmidim HaShluchim in Yeshiva has a chelik in it. You know, there's a sikh the Rebbe writes that says that the Mokin Shabbat Tshuva ain't the tzaddikim gemurim in Chenla. Wherever it's about Tshuva stand, tzaddikim can't stand there. So the Rebbe asks a shayla, Nimsa chaytaniske. So someone did the Avedas, gains. So it's a good idea to do Avedas. Maybe we should do Avedas. Actually, the Rebbe Pshat says, the Gemara says, or Eimer Echter Ba'osher, Eimer speaking the other ones of Tshuva. They say, sin, they'll do Tshuva. Eimer speaking, they don't let him do Tshuva, they don't help him do Tshuva. So the Rebbe asked the shayla, who's this guy? Is he a frumer, a real good guy? Why would he want to do an Aveda? If he's a bad guy, what does he care about the tshuva? The answer is, it's a very good guy. He wants the ma'ilab about tshuva. So he says, maybe it's kedai or echta moshe. And the answer is, you can't do it. But if you can't do it, you miss out chaytaniske. Because the guy did Aveda, he reached a higher madrega, so it's not fair. But tzaddik can never reach that madrega. And the Rebbe says that tzaddik can also reach that madrega. How? If you help somebody become about tshuva, you have a chelik in his tshuva. So you also have that madrege of mokish about tshuva. Saying the same thing, people are talking about shluchim, and then there are people who help with shluchim. So you have a chelik in the shlichus. You have a chelik in the shlichus. So it's mamish similar to socher and zvul. Socher and zvul is posh the halacha tikazah. That you have, and then some misnagish yeshivas, they have that whole thing. You have people who signed up in the socher and zvul. That I'm going to learn a whole day, you're going to support me, and we make a deal that half of my Torah goes to you, and half of your money goes to me. Which side do you want to be? But there is such a thing as Yisrael as well. It's halacha. Halacha is that after you learn, you can't do that. You can't say the Torah I learned yesterday, you get schar. But before you learn, you can do that. Same thing here. Someone helps, someone that bocher doing shlichus, and he makes it possible, then you have a chelik in that shlichus. What's the shlichus? Shlichus lo d'mesa. The shlichus, the shliach of a person, is like the person himself. With all the high madrigas, the Rebbe always quotes the lekach tev Rabbi Yisrael Engel with the 3 levels of shlichus lo d'mesa. And then the Rebbe explains also in one place there's a 4th madriga. I remember Tovshich of Zion Sukkis. I read Sukkis in the Rebbe spoke that all these are madrigas. What happens to the shliach? Is he mamish like the meshaleach? Not mamish. Then there's a 4th madrega, he said. All this is that the shliach becomes the meshaleach. Know what the 4th madrega? The meshaleach becomes the shliach. It becomes so one that the meshaleach and the shliach are mamish one. So you can imagine what kind of madrega that is. Unfortunately, I have to say this. I'm not talking about the bochim here because I don't know you and I can't say anything that I'm saying. I mean you. But I'm saying there are some bochim who don't recognize and appreciate the schus that they have. The schus that they have. Bochim to be shluchim, the schus that they have. But you know what? If it's a schus, it comes together with the achrayus. You know, someone came to the Rebbe Rashab, a Polish chassid, and once grabbed shirayim. The Rebbe told him, we don't give shirayim. So he said to the Rebbe Rashab, but by us, shirayim is mezakeh. The Rebbe Rashab said, by uns is shirayim mechayev. Shirayim is mechayev. Being a shliach is mezakeh, but it's mechayev. It's mechayev. What a shliach is supposed to do. Now, the question is, what is he supposed to do? Well, that's a separate subject. You got to go with step. I'm not here to go into that because the way I hear, you're all doing your job and you're doing it right. Well, I'm not saying it, I'm just bringing out the concept of it. But you know what? It's a person, Shliach Bocher is a person that the Rebbe takes a chayis more than a regular Shliach. A regular Shliach that goes to a city, about a Shluchim at the Mesi, he takes a chayis. He carries the burden of Lubavitch. And Bechal, everybody has to know this. The Shliach, whatever he does, is not him. He's doing it in the name of Lubavitch. The Mela, whatever he does, is Lubavitch. Lubavitch is the Rebbe. There's nothing else. Lubavitch is the Rebbe. Remember once I looked at the Sikhs, the Rebbe corrected something that we wrote. And the Rebbe wrote, you guys don't realize any mistake that's made in Lakut Sikhs reflects Lubavitch. Reflects Lubavitch. Because the Rebbe is Lubavitch. Lubavitch is the Rebbe and the Rebbe is Lubavitch. There's a Sikh in Tavshin Yud Beis, the Rebbe says, he got a letter from somebody that is asking for a bracha for his son, for the bar mitzvah, and the son should not know of anything else but, he said to know only of Sidis and Lubavitch. Only of the Eibishter and Lubavitch. That's not what the guy wrote. You know who wrote it. That's not what he wrote. He wrote that he should not know anything but the Eibishter and the Rebbe. But the Rebbe translated the Eibishter and Lubavitch. And the Rebbe explained, Lubavitch and Eibishter is the same thing. Why? What's Lubavitch? Lubavitch is to express and to publicize and to make you understand nothing but Eibishter. So Lubavitch and Eibishter is one. And the Rebbe referred to the Sikhs. He said if there's a mistake in the Sikhs, it reflects on Lubavitch. And every person, well, first of all, I'm going to say every Lubavitcher. Every Lubavitcher, whatever he does, it's not to him. A lot of people, you have all kinds of people. How come when a Belzer Chosid is going to do something not wrong, what do people say? People will say, this is this guy, he's a nothing. If a Lubavitcher does something wrong, what will say? Look at this Lubavitcher. What's the game Lubavitcher? Why mention Lubavitch? Nowadays they hate when they say that this is the crime was done by a Schwarzer. What's the game of a Schwarzer? They hate it. It's racism. So why did they say Lubavitcher? But Lubavitcher did it. But Lubavitcher gave Lubavitcher. And the same thing to good. So you see a guy comes, Lubavitcher Bocher comes to a shul and he sits on top of this boy and have it, and he learns this. Nobody says, I saw Lubavitcher Bocher. Why I saw Chaim Yaakov, whatever his name is. Behave properly. No, it's a Lubavitcher. Every person. When you have a shliach represents the Rebbe. Represents Lubavitch. And Lubavitch and the Rebbe is two echad. Lubavitch and the Rebbe is one. The Rebbe is Lubavitch and Lubavitch is the Rebbe. So you represent Lubavitch, so you have to be careful with shliach. A Bocher shliach has even a bigger achrayus. Why? Because the whole future of Lubavitch depends on the book. I have to tell you that. In every group, who are the ones that made the difference? The youngsters. The young people. They made a difference. Every revolution started with the young people. That's what it is. So the achrayus is so great. Remember that this goes back in the Chofs. The Rebbe explained, I think it's Alman Derari, about something that he says, what I'm putting my hope on is the Yinglach, the Kinderlach from our Torah. The Kinderlach. Because that's going to be the future. So, and the Shlichus is just as strong as before. And don't think, remember there was a time in Miami when some of the Shluchim, whatever they didn't get along with the Shlich Roshi, it was a fight and this and that, and go to the Rebbe. Finally, the Rebbe wrote, so, this is, I'm not quoting the whole Lashon, but he wrote, you find it, it's all printed already. Sof, tolk. You know what that tolk means? Machana tolk means make a seder. What's going on with the Bocher, with the Shluchim. And the Rebbe said that if you can't make a tolk, the Rebbe writes, I'm not quoting the Lashon, but the Teichen, I cannot take any more achrayas for these Bocher. So I remember after that, when this letter came back to us, I remember I got a call from New York, the Rebbe's Washington, Farbrengen. This is what I told the Bocher. On one hand, this is very, very, everyone felt very bad that the Rebbe made such a comment. I said, you know what? In this settle, leaked, you know what leaked in this settle? You know what the Rebbe wrote? if this goes on, I can't take achrayus. In other words, I'm taking achrayus. So the Rebbe takes achrayus for the bocher mashluchim. You know, if not, I can't take achrayus. Because, and I said that, and I'm saying it now again, that it's possible. Sometimes falter reina machshava zorah. That it says before Amoli came, machshava zorah. Hayesh Hashem elikeinu v'kirbono imayim. Hashem with us. Falter reina machshava zorah is the Rebbe talking. We're shluchim. So it's a title shluchim. It's a system. It's a system that he came in Lubavitch. So it's a big deal. Who made up the system? The system is done now. Here you can't see Rabbi Katlarsky all of a show. Here somebody else made it up. Rabbi Draskin made it up all of a show. It's not true. It's not true. The system is directed from the Rebbe. Rebbe wanted. Even though I have to tell you the truth, the Rebbe had a sweater that the holding of the shlichus is only temporary. The shlichus of bocher is temporary. Till it's helping the yeshiva to stand on its own feet. I have to tell you, the Rebbe wrote it to me. The Rebbe wrote, Kavana of shlichus bochim shluchim is to make yeshiva start off on its own feet. That's why there was a point that the Rebbe didn't want to send shluchim to Australia anymore. He was the first one. And nevertheless, he continued sending because no matter how you're standing on your feet, bochim shluchim help out. And it helps out not only for the other talmidim in the yeshiva, it helps out for the ganze Stadt. It helps for the ganze Stadt. You have bochim shluchim, and one thing is like this. Nowadays, we do not live in the glass house. We do live in a we do live in a glass. Nowadays, everything that you do, there's no such thing. You give a cough, and it's already in Australia. Now, everything, there's nothing hidden. Everyone knows everything. So when you're in a place, you got to know everyone knows everything. So you got to make sure that you are representing the Rebbe's cause. So you have to be proud of it, and at the same time, you feel achrayus. Remember when it was Mishol Belavitin got married. Mishol Belavitin got married in Los Angeles. And the 6 bochrim went to Los Angeles for his chassan. I don't remember which day the chassan was, Tuesday or Wednesday. So we went to Los Angeles. It was Thursday night. We were sitting at Rabbi Reichik's house, and there's a call. Rabbi Chadaka was on the line. He wants to speak to one of the 6 bochrim. So I took the phone and I spoke to Rabbi Chadaka. And he says, I'm telling you, you should stay for Shabbos. We were planning to go back Friday. Farbrengen, stay for Shabbos. And if you stay for Shabbos, you should go to all the shuls and speak in the shuls and make the farsa and go. So I started arguing with him. I said, but there might be a Farbrengen. I'm telling you, he said, there won't be a Farbrengen. But I said, I'm not sure, we're not sure. I started arguing on the phone. It's Kantoya on your musket. I was arguing. He says, let me speak to Rabbi Reichik. So I give the phone to Rabbi Reichik. Rabbi Reichik goes into the other room and speaks to him. And Rabbi Reichik comes back and he says, you know, the Rebbe was on the line. And he heard it. And the Rebbe asked that you should stay for Shabbos. So you can imagine right away, he stayed for Shabbos. And Rabbi Reichik arranged that we should speak in different shuls. I remember I got to speak in Rabbi Halbersham's shul. The older Rabbi, I think, shul.
3rd Street.
I spoke there. And then they arranged that I should speak by Shalashudas in Rabbi Roman's shul, in Israel, which is right next to Beis Mach. Not, I think it used to be. I don't remember. And we all, and every one of us that was there spent in different shuls to speak. But what I'm trying to bring out is this. I came to Shalashudas, this Roman.
From bringing New York and Shabbos?
No, there was no Farbrengen. And he said, I promise you, there was no Farbrengen. The player, I remember, went to Rabbi Ruben's shul for Shalashudas. At Shalashudas, there was probably 200 people. And I'm sat down, and he calls me over to put me next to him. I felt very uncomfortable. But a bocher. What am I doing up front? From people, 200 people. And you know what? As I was sitting there, it came to my mind. Why did he call me up to sit there? He doesn't know who I am, doesn't even know my name, doesn't know anything. Why did he call me up? Because of the Rebbe. So really, when he's giving me covet, you can come to the Rebbe. So from that moment on, Fine, didn't feel bad. I'm here. Hineni. Got up, I'm speaking. Yeah. Thank you very much for the COVID. Everything is fine. It's not my COVID. Itaka didn't give me COVID. He doesn't know who I am. Why is he giving me COVID? Is it Rabbi Reichik asked him, and he told him that everyone wanted to give me COVID. And that's what every shliach is. By the way, the end of the story, Derech Hagav, we came back to New York. One of the, it was Shalbel Levit's Chassanet. So we heard that night, Thursday night, Anhola went into Yechidus to the Rebbe. Anhola used to go into Yechidus once a month. The last Thursday of the month, he used to go in and give the Rebbe a report of all the Bochum, what's happening. And they told the Rebbe that the Bochum are in California and they went to the Chasna. And on the spot, B'Shas Maaseh, the Rebbe said, let them stay for Shabbos. And Shmuel Levittin was one of the members of Anhola, the Rebbe told it. And on the spot, the Rebbe, Shmuel Levittin told us, the Rebbe pushed the button to Rabbi Charkov and told him, call them and tell them they should stay for Shabbos. And when the Rebbe was on the line, and when he called, the Rebbe was on the line and we were talking, and the Rebbe wanted to stay for Shabbos. It was like a no Farbrengen, and we stayed for Shabbos. But the point is, you have to remember that we have to have both sides to it. We have to remember the schus. The schus is gewaltig. The truth is, if you don't think about it, you don't realize how great the schus is. You have to sit down and think about it. Because like you say, I told you, I came to Miami, I sat down, the Shluchim came to Pנמה, or Bochum was sitting in Yeshiva. It's not Posher. This is Ish Eishim Shemchitzi, this is the Rebbe sending you. The Rebbe sending you gives you achrayas. Gives you the schus, but the schus comes with achrayas. But the Rebbe don't say she gives the schus, but achrayas. It's an achrayas. And the way it seems like that the achrayas is there. I'm just trying to bring out, stressing the point that how important it is. The same thing is with every Lubavitcher. Every Lubavitcher has to realize that he's a Lubavitcher. He's not a person that belongs to Lubavitcher. He's a member of this, what they used to call it, this Meshuggah group called Lubavitcher. Because in Russia, the Soviets, the communists, they said, we got rid of all the groups. Their whole philosophy was to get rid of any group, anything, everything is the communism. And they said, there's all the groups we got rid of, except the one Meshuggah group. Meshuggahim. Yes, we are Meshuggahim. We're not normal. We are not normal. We're not regular people. We do things which are not normal. And this group, we have to thank the Leibel, we belong to this group, but we represent the group. Someone's from Teira V'das, no one's going to say, oh, I saw a bocher from Teira V'das, you didn't daven with the meaning. Why would he mention Teira V'das? What's the game in Teira V'das or from Mir Yeshiva? But the Lubavitcher bocher, there's no question about it. I saw the Lubavitcher bocher. On the other hand, if you're going to say, Lubavitcher bocher, I saw a good bocher. Anyway, this is just the achrayas of the shluchim. There's so many protim to it. This is just a very close beginning that I'm saying. See, this is my line of work, so that's why I'm speaking about it. Everyone speaks whatever he shaykhs to. This is my line of work. To speak, to have shluchim, and to have yeshiva, to have this. That's why I'm telling you the truth. I'm not a mashpia, and I'm haltish by the dark of mashpia. I'm not. That's why honest. The hardest thing for me is to Farbrengen. If Farbrengen, you got to hold by something. You can't just all of a sudden just get down and speak. It's not a speech. You got to really mean it, and the guys, whatever. But I thought told me. I don't know why you got me in a weak moment to come. So I'm not doing because but I'm saying the Indian way to continue to make sure that you have to keep in mind what it means to be a shliach, and a chlal, and a shliach, home and a shluchim. You have to remember also that the seder, the lashon is talmidim ashluchim. It doesn't say talmidim come first before the word shluchim. It's talmidim ashluchim. I remember when the shluchim came, the first shluchim came to Miami. They used to get all the publications of the kutim that come out in New York. They used to come to them. What did they write on the envelope? Who was it to? Ashluchim Agdeshim. I call them what are you talking about? Ashluchim Agdeshim. The shlichus is Gdeshim. The shluchim are not Gdeshim. They're not holy people. It's a shlichus Gdeshim. It's a holy shlichus. It's not shluchim Gdeshim. It's not holy. How do you get holy? Holy, you got some Andrei, you got to get holy. But it's shlichus Gdeshim. Yes, the shlichus is a shlichus Gdeshim, and you have to fulfill it. You should be below it. Sai Shlichus La'atzmei, Shnai Shlichus La'chelim, Shlichus for the city, which is another aspect of it, which is not for this moment. But L'chaim, you have to remember, we're all Shluchim, and we all, the Rebbe is here with us, and the Rebbe sends us our Shlichus, and every year is a Shlichus, Chosid is a Shliach. And we should feel the Shlichus, and we should feel the Shlichus, so we have to feel it. Because if you don't feel it, there's a problem here. You got to feel that you are Kamesa, you are taking the place of the Rebbe. What the Frierdiker Rebbe said, he said, HaKofes, no idea of HaKofes when you hold the Sefer Torah is. The Sefer Torah wants to dance. Has no feet, can't dance. You become the feet of the Sefer Torah. The Rebbe wants to come to Panaman. The Rebbe wants to be here. Why does he want to be here? Because you have to bring a lakus into Panama too. See, Miami, I say he wants to bring a lakus because it's Elam Matach, so he wants to bring a lakus. I don't know if the Elam Matach is not, I'm getting close, I think. I don't know. Whatever it is, but the Eibishter wants it. So, whatever it is, you have to remember what Achrayus is and what it is. If you have that in mind, then you do it more with Ishmak. Achrayus.
que ya no usa celular.
Tengo un mensaje tuyo, ¿verdad?
3. Pero como no voy a ir a vender oro.
Como ahorita en boquete,
Wow.
y mira el celular. No tengo tiempo de ver el celular. De tanto oro que tengo que acumular.
Que yo en el futuro, si tengo empleados que sean tan dedicados como tú.
Te voy a decir una cosa. Ashgaha para ti. Ashgaha para ti. Ahí te lo respondí.
Si el mundo cuando vio lo de Trump no entendió.
Primero perdón, pero no sé por qué me lo Ashgaha para ti.
Si el mundo cuando vio lo de Trump no entendió lo que es Ashgaha para ti.
No, eso no es política. La promo.
Y ahora le hicieron un supina al jefe de seguridad. A ver qué pasó. ¿Por qué no hicieron nada antes? Muy loco. Dice que mucha gente vive las cosas pasando y no pasó nada. Muchas teorías de conspiración.
Así no se pronuncia. Te trae el chocolate, trae para acá.
Y así tienen que cambiar a todos sus staff.
Otro día lo hablamos, pero
Galleta.
hoy hay tantos videos que están saliendo más.
Bring it on.
Y una serie de cosas.
Ponte galletas, estamos en esta vaina.
Y una serie de cosas.
Tienen que cambiar su staff.
No, no todo. Ya se
Esta vaina seguro que es gluten free, chocolate frito, verga frito.
I don't know why, but I got into this opinion of the Shapiro. Now we talked to them, but the fail I got into it, so let me continue. There's always a shaila that the Shulchan have. It's like a shaila, it's philosophical questions. What is their main job? Is the main job to sit and learn themselves? And you have other bochim in the yeshiva besides the Shulchan to learn with them, or to also have an impact on the city. And the shaila that they ask is saying both. Both is not shaykhs. Busy learning the whole time yourself. How could you do it? But by the Rebbe, there was no such thing as not shaykh. No such thing. You know, the famous story with Adin, Evan Yisrael, which stays else. But the work that he was doing was getting too much, and he wanted to know if he could do something else. Something. So he asked the Rebbe what he should do. Should he drop this? Should he drop that? So the Rebbe answered him, two more. It's not shayach. By the Rebbe, there was no such thing as not shayach. Always shayach. Always shayach to do more. And Mitzvah showed that it was done. Even though it seems like two opposites. If you're doing this, you can't do that. You know what? Yidden are used to being Neisa Hofki. Yidden have opposites. They carry both opposites. One of the most common Neisa Hofkim that we find by Yidden, there's a Zichronos, but Zichronos Chelik, actually it's a Chelik Gimel. The Rebbe says there that you should know Emunah and Tוכן are two opposites. Why is Emunah and Tוכן two opposites? Emunah means you have to, one of the things of Emunah is you have to believe Gamzul Teva. Whatever David does is good. Kol Ma'adov Rachmana Tavov. It's all good. Someone is sick, you have to have Emunah that this is good. At the same time, you have to have the Tוכן that you become healthy. You have to trust David, you become healthy. Why should you have the Tוכן to become healthy? If it's good. To be sick is good, Because you have a money that the Eibishter made you sick, and obviously that's the best thing for you. So how could you have the tochen that you should become healthy? Why should you become healthy? It's a stira. So the chilik is in the past and the future, but it's still a stira. Which the Friedrich Rebbe said, we're talking about the Tammuz, the jail. Friedrich Rebbe said it when he was in America, I think. He said that when he was in jail, he elevated himself to a very, very high level. So someone asked him, would you like to go back? So he said, for $1 million, I wouldn't sell 1 minute of my being in jail. For $1 million, I wouldn't go back for 1 minute. This seems to be a steal. If it's worth $1 million to be that extra minute in jail, then why wouldn't you go back for another minute? You know what the Rebbe says? It's like a hepech, it's a steal. But since he didn't come from Atzmas Ein Sof, and Atzmas Ein Sof is Neisa Hofchim, by him, David, there is no stealers. Neisa Hofchim, Mamish, there's two opposites at the same time. He is Gvul. What is the same Sidus brings from Davedas HaKedesh? Keshem sheyicholti b'gvul, kach cholti b'bli gvul, she'imat eimer keinat, and nimtzat musay. How could it be? He's both. But it's a steal if he's Gvul and he's equal at the same time. Ad kedei kach, imagine. The Rebbe has such a chidush, the mamish, that when the Rebbe said it the first time, it blew the mind of all the Chassidim. Later it's already in the Sichas, they have the word. We all know that there was a big machlekes in the Alter Rebbe and the Gro, whether Tzimtzum kipshuter. The Gro held Tzimtzum kipshuter. When the Tzimtzum was, kosher there was a Tzimtzum of the Eibishter. See that Alter Rebbe says in Shara Yichud V'Amunah, Shikigas Chachamim Beineim, how could you say there's a Tzimtzum? And the Rebbe, remember when he said it upstairs, when he used to eat in the meal, like I said before, the meal of the Friedrich Rebbe's Suda, the Friedrich Rebbe's apartment, he used to eat in the Tilda and Chamadim, the Rebbe's in Chamadim passed away, and he stopped at the Tilda and he ate there, and he, between the meal, in the middle of the meal, they used to ask the Rebbe questions, the Rebbe would answer. The Rebbe himself would never start the conversation. The Rebbe sat there, mamish as if the Friedrich Rebbe is sitting there. If someone asked him, he would answer. But what the Rebbe said then is, that if not for the Alter Rebbe saying that Tzimtzum is not kipshuter, I would think Tzimtzum kipshuter. How could he say Tzimtzum kipshuter? Tzimtzum kipshuter means that there's a place where there's no elkus. So he said that's not a problem. There is no elkus and there is elkus at the same time. It's a stira, big deal. But Eibishter, there is no stiras, there is no contradiction. Eibishter is Neisa Hofchim. The famous Chuvas HaRashba that the Rebbe brings always, and the Siddur brings the Chuvas HaRashba, where the Rashba writes that some people asked him that the Eibishter could do anything. Kill the Yofim. The Eibishter could do anything. Can the Eibishter make a pillar b'kupit d'machta? Can the Eibishter make an elephant go through a hole of a needle? Now he could make the elephant so small that he can make the hole so big. But can he make that the hole should be big, should be small, and the elephant should be big and they should go through? It's impossible. That's what he said. That's what they called Yesh Nimna B'chei Kabeira. There is something impossible. It's a stira. There's no mixing. Or Reichev built Reichev Basachas. They asked him, can the Eibishter make that someone should be riding a horse and not riding at the same time? Sure he could. He can make two of you. Yeah. But to make you ride and not, the Eibishter can make all kinds of things, but not a contradiction. And the Rashba answers, the Eibishter is Nimna HaNimnoes. He's impossible of impossibilities. It's there. So it's Neisa Hofchim. So Yid is Neisa Hofchim. So by Yid could be Emunah B'tochen. You believe that whatever the Eibishter does is good. So if a person Chas v'Sholem is sick, you have to believe that this is the best thing for him. At the same time, ask the Eibishter to take it away. So the same thing in other things. By Yid there's a thing of Neisa Hofchim. Yid could be opposite. By the Rebbe that was so the Rebbe could say two opposites you could do. You could work on yourself and you could do with others, and there's no stira. And in this case, it's even easier to understand. You could work it out so that you work on others. I work in the community. First year that the Bochum came, in one of those years, the Rebbe came out of Miftzah Mezuzah. So the Bochum, the Shluchim, they sat and learned. They kept the Seder fully. They went out at night to go Miftzah Mezuzah. And after a few days, they put up 40 mezuzahs. Miami, 53 years ago, was not so much, 50 years ago. They put up 40, and they were proud of it. He wrote to the Rebbe. He put up 40 mezuzahs. You know what the Rebbe answered? 40 mezuzahs be'ir shel arboyim elef Yehudim. You have 40,000 years in Miami Beach, and you put up 40 mezuzahs. What does he want? How could you do that? I mean, it's a nest that they were able to do that. Chutz l'seder. You know what? You could do it. You know what? Try it. Let's see.
Also
to Miami. Korbanos, yeah, exactly. That's the government thing. They get chazir in B'chlet. Yeah, they do the Farbrengen and they made up that everyone should chazir the COVID Dalf Nissen. I think the Dalf Nissen should chazir 2 prokim Tanya. I think there's 2 prokim Tanya B'chlet. They wrote to the Rebbe something as the Nash came together and they made that. And the Rebbe wrote, Harei zeh oshe shehevi korban oni. How did you say that? That's enough. But you could do it. How could you do it? If you're a Mailam in Azman. How do you get a Mailam in Azman? If you connect it to the Rebbe who's a Mailam in Azman, then you could do it with Mailam in Azman. By the Rebbe, this was the Mailam in Azman was something that was definite. The Rebbe was Mailam in Azman. There's no question about it. Any person who just follows the Rebbe's inyonim, unless you're a real misnagid again, even a neutral person just would look into it and follow the Rebbe's inyonim, you can see the Rebbe is a Mailam in Azman. There are certain things, you sometimes come to a certain issue, a certain subject, and you write the Rebbe's involvement, and you wrote this, and you wrote all kinds. That was one of 5,000 issues. To me and to you and to somebody else, to get involved in that issue would take a whole week. And Rebbe had such issues, 5,000 such issues. How is it possible? I don't know. It's definitely Rayam and Asman that you have certain certifications. And if you're connected to it, you can do it. So the bottom line is you have to remember the nekudah of being a shliach of the Rebbe. That's the first part. That's the first important thing. I'm a shliach. The moment you're a shliach and shluch shlo in the Gemesi, you get all the kaitas from the shaliach. So you have to learn yourself. I hear that the guys are learning. Some guys finished Chol Basra. When the Anhola told the Rebbe that there's a bocher who learned Chol Basra al Pei, you know what the Rebbe did? The Rebbe got up and he said, "Ganz Chol Basra." He got up just to hear that news. Somebody learned Chol Basra al Pei. Ganz Chol Basra. The Rebbe get up. What does that mean? So that's one thing. Then there's the hashpah, and the hashpah itself has 2 parts to it. Has hashpah b'derech pnimi and b'derech makiv. B'derech pnimi, hashpah is very simple. You go to people and you speak to them and you learn with them. And that takes much more time, but you could do it still. You find time between Dorim. It's Monazar. You find time to speak a little bit, not much, but a little bit when you do find time. There is such a thing. Exists. Okay, not here, not in Miami, but some China people speak. But there's such a thing to find. So that's bagash. But the main thing is also the makif thing. Like I said, everyone knows what goes on. You think that people in the Snagish community don't know what goes on in the Babish community? I guarantee they know. There's no question about it. If they hear it, the Babish learn, know how to learn, that has hashpah on them. It has a hashpah on them. Look at Lubavitch. One of our jobs is to make a Kiddush Hashem. Kiddush Hashem Lubavitch. What's that Kiddush Hashem? It says in Sifri, "Wahaftas Hashem Elokecha b'chol ha'of," the pasuk says, and the Sifri says, "Sheyehei Shem Shemayim Mis'ahei B'al Yotcho." Not only you should love, you should make other people love. If you make other people have their acheretz for the Rebbe for Lubavitch, that's the biggest Kiddush Hashem Lubavitch. If you make other people say something. If you make a goy say a good word, like you know a Jew, and the Jew is very honest, and the Jew is so good, that's the greatest Kiddush Hashem. Shem Shemayim Yisai B'al Yotcha. Same thing with Lubavitch. Tzadikim Dei Milabeirim Yav Shem Shemayim Yisai B'al Yotcha. And if they hear that the Lubavitch Bochum learn, and they know how to learn, you know what that has? That has a hashpah on them. You never know, they will start learning Chassidus because they heard that there's a Lubavitch Bochum who sit and learn. Chaim v'levrocha. That needs a l'chaim. That's what will happen. When you hear the Lubavitch Bochum, and by the Rebbe, I can tell you, by the Rebbe, this Indian that people should say that the Lubavitcher Bochum know how to learn was so important, so important. I said this over many times, I'll say it over again. It was one year, the Stoshchen Choftes in Boston, they made a big dinner, the Kovet Itaskistiv. And they had Harav Soloveitchik, Yosheber Soloveitchik, to be the guest speaker. They sent a car, 6 Bochum to Boston to be there, in case we'll have to speak to Rabbi Soloveitchik and learning. So I remember he came there, Rabbi Soloveitchik spoke. He spoke 2 or 2.5 hours about the Uftov Chassidus. And amongst the things he said, which is all derech Haggadah, it's not important, but he said something very interesting. And it's interesting that out of the whole speech, he didn't allow a tape. So he could record it. But this part that I'm going to say is recorded. We didn't know about it. About 10 years ago, someone sent us a recording of that specific part. What is the part? He said like this: we have a Kabbalah in our family. His family is from Volozhin, from Chaim Volozhin. Kabbalah in our family. That the Alter Rebbe went to speak to the Grod. And he went to Rebbe Levitzchak Baditchever. Which that part is not true, because the Alter Rebbe himself writes in the letter, he went to Rebbe Mendele Vitebsk. But he said the Kabbalah in our family, we call it Beis Harav, is that the Alter Rebbe went to the Baditchever to speak to the Grod. He came to the Grod's place, Vilna, and he asked people, who is the Klois? Klois used to be called the Shul for the Chossid. Vilna Gaon was not, in his time, was not called the Gaon. Imagine, it was called the Chossid. You see in his Sefer, and Shapiro, in the Aqdome, it says, this is the Aqdome, Vagon HaChossid. They called him a Chossid. Anyway, he asked, who is the Klois from the Chossid? He showed him over there. So the Alter Rebbe went with the Baditchever, that's what he says, came to the Shul with the Klois. And he asked the people in the Shul, who is the Klois? Where is the Chossid? So they showed him steps, go up there, and that's where he is, on the second floor, in the attic or whatever. They went up the steps, they knocked on the door. The Vilna Gaon looked through the keyhole, or through a hole in the door or something, and he saw the Alter Rebbe's face. And he saw the greatness of the face. And he spoke in English. Afterwards, I didn't even understand the way he described the Alter Rebbe's face, what he saw. And he said, as you could see from the picture, the greatness and the smart, I don't know what words he used, very specific words. And the Gros saw that if he opens the door, after 2 hours, he will be walking out with the Alter Rebbe, hand in hand, spreading chassidus. And he got afraid of that, and he jumped out the window. So after this was put on, I said this, and put on the Living Torah, from the Gem. I got so many calls from people. Is that true? Did he say that? Because someone called me from Moshe Shilat from Eretz Yisrael, told me that some of the people from the Zrachi type of yeshivas follow Rabbi Soloveitchik, and if they would hear this, is it true? Heshke Dubrovsky called me. He doesn't believe it. How could he say it? He said, we didn't have a recording of it, but later we found the recording. That's exactly what he said. So that was in that drush. Anyway, I didn't mean to get to that. That's derech Haggadah. Then after the whole party finished, and most of the people left, and he as his talmidim stayed around. And he turns around to us, he looks at me and he says, "Doch you das Kisler, but that's Farbrengen." Okay, I'm Farbrengen. We sat down to Farbrengen, and we started talking to him and learning, and we spoke to him about all the different inyonim and nigla that the Rebbe's, well, first of all, kavataynik and cross the date line. You have to keep shuas, your own shuas, and now the whole idea. We spoke to him about Hilchos Tshuva. It was our mazel, something like that mazel. That year, the Rebbe spoke every Farbrengen about another part of the Geras HaTshuva. Mamish, that year, it was interesting. The Rebbe, every Farbrengen, another piece of Geras HaTshuva. Mamish like a Rosh Hashiva or a Mashpia gives Shurim in the Geras HaTshuva. The Rebbe gave Shurim in the Geras HaTshuva. So we Bochim were well versed in the Lashonos of the Rambam, Hilchos Tshuva, because the Rambam, and my Rabbi Soloveitchik, the Rambam B'chal is top and Hilchos Tshuva above. So we spoke and we threw Mara McKinnis and we threw everybody, all the guys were sitting around. Even that Bocher was Ken Lennon in the different yeshiva. What does he know? Hilchos Niskimomen, Hilchos Tshuva, who knows Hilchos Tshuva? We knew Hilchos Tshuva word by word from the Rambam. And we spoke about it and it was very impressive. It was very. We came back, we told the Anhola what happened. That Thursday, the Anhola went into, like I said before, the Anhola used to go in every Thursday night to whatever, every month, last Thursday of the month. And they always looked for good things to tell the Rebbe about the Bocher. So they told him that a few Bocher went to Boston and he heard the salvation. So the Rebbe said to them, tell the Bocher to write up a report of what he said and what happened there and give it to me, give a duch. So I wrote up a duch and I had all the Bocher signed. We gave it to the Rebbe. And the Rebbe circled the names and he wrote on the side, Tach al absurdistus. Thank you for the good news. By the way, what does Tach mean? Anybody know? So the Rebbe wrote to Rabbi Zalman Duchman, he asked the Rebbe, what does Tach mean? The Rebbe wrote, Tach equals Teidochamo. Not Shuaschein. Teidochamo. A warm thank you. So the Rebbe wrote to us, Tach al absurdistus. And then he wrote, and I'm not quoting the words because I don't remember every word, there was a 3-line thing, but the statement was like this. Bavadai, Shoklu v'toru, gam mi'inyonim shelohem v'lei rak me'hameduber ba'isvadis. For sure you spoke to them, even Yonim on your own, Nigla Yonim. Not only, but I spoke by the Farbrengen. By the Rebbe, this was this idea that the Bochum should be able to speak and learn and speak to others, and the Nigla meant so much when you heard that such things like this, that the Bochum spoke and made people to understand. He told me that Sholem Moristan, Spalte told me that he wants to win American Shlichus, and the Rebbe wanted that in his time, in my time before that, was that everyone should have an Inyan and legal Inyan in cities. So, ready. They had to get it settled from the Rebbe, from the Hanola that he got. So he got that. So I learned that Inyan and legal has to do with Rav Shimon Shkop, it's a whole beard. And he came to some city, I forgot which city it was, and there was a Talmud of Rav Shimon Shkop here, going back so many years. And he didn't even want to turn to them. Baba Shebochem, what did Baba Shebochem know? But they got to speak to him, and he said about the Tzavot for the Pshimashkop, and you guys don't know what it's all about. And the Tazbun Binyan that he prepared, and he started talking to him about that Pshimashkop so much. He went out of his kalim. Pshimashkop, how do you guys know? The chapter is the Lavich, we have to know what the Pshimashkop says. I heard a Bocher told me, he went and spoke to Rabbi Rudeman, Rebbe Yisrael in Baltimore. And Rabbi Rudeman Charuz gesagt, said to him, Babich Rebbe kenish lemon. Whatever you want to say, no one's going to say the Babich Rebbe kenish lemon. So what are you talking about, Rabbi? He happened to make a mistake. She said, no. I mean that he doesn't know the Pshimashkops, these things. So nobody the Bocher answered, he tells me he answered him. Some Sefer also didn't know the Pshimashkops. The Rebbe has to know the Pshimashkops. Anyway, but the Leibel, we have to remember that this was Rebbe. And learning Nigla is, I always tell the story, because a million times I told the story, so some of you heard it also a million times. I said it on my Zichronos. There was once, I used to come to Yeshiva on Shabbos. Later I stopped coming to Yeshiva on Shabbos, like Shul. And there was, I gave a shir of Siddur, and after the shir of Siddur, before davening, Boch comes over and asked me a pshat. I think it was in the Tosfos of pshat, and we were discussing back and forth the Nigla thing. There was a young man, a businessman, who came by the yeshiva. He was from New York, from Crown Heights, but he was doing business in Miami. I see him 6 months later in 770. He tells me, I want to tell you something. I have a meaning that whenever I go on business or whatever it is, I write to the Rebbe Duch for what happened. I wrote to the Rebbe Duch of my trip this time. And among the things I wrote, that I saw a Bocher in Yeshiva in Miami speaking Nigla Takoch on Shabbos before davening. So one place when I started telling the story, he says, so the Rebbe probably answered, hey, Tochin or something. So the Rebbe answered, in big words, Tachal absurd status. You know why? Because you know what Nigla is? Tell me. Chachmas shel HaKadosh Baruch Hu. It's all it is, nothing else. It's Chachmas shel HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Anyway, when the Shaila comes back, when I started this, do you work with yourself or do you work? The Rebbe, by him, it was no, you have to work with yourself and you work with others. And the Rebbe established Tzach. What was the motto that the Rebbe established? Tzavede Yematzmei v'avede Yimzolosei. Every year when they had Beis Year, you have the Asifer, the big convention of Tzach. Every year would mention this. That the first letter that the Rebbe wrote when the Rebbe established Syria, Agudas Chabad, this is what he wrote: Avede Matzmei v'Avede Mzolosei. You can't forget about Avede Matzmei. You have to learn, especially Talmidim HaShluchim. Talmidim HaShluchim is two words: Talmidim HaShluchim. Not HaShluchim HaGdashim. Sorry, not HaShluchim HaGdashim. Not whole. You're not whole. Shluchim is HaShluchim HaGdashim. But the Talmidim. And Talmidim means you have to learn in yeshiva, you have to learn properly. And Talmidim HaShluchim, and you have a shlichus. Your learning is not only for yourself or your own sake, to have shlichus. And the shlichus is to bring the Eir Eliki into the world. It's a stira, and it sounds like it's a stira. We're all Mesahofka. We do things. The Babishers do things which are not normal, and are things that, even if you don't do it, it always bothers you why you don't do it. Remember, there was somebody in yeshiva, he had a problem with his stomach pains. Came to the doctor, Dr. Hershberg. Dr. Hershberg said, you know what, you have a nervous stomach. A nervous stomach. He said, I'm surprised. A lot of the Lubavitchers said have nervous stomachs. Why do the Lubavitchers have nervous stomachs? I know why. Because you're always nervous. Always afraid, I didn't do what the Rebbe wants. Because we all want to do what the Rebbe wants. And we really want to do it, and you're always nervous. And it affects your health. You always have this conscious. The only thing they can do is do it, Take. So you try to do it, but you're still not in the head. Because the Rebbe, that was the Rebbe. The Rebbe was never satisfied. He was never satisfied. You ever saw a video that the Rebbe, someone says to the Rebbe, I gave so much money for a mikveh. What did the Rebbe answer? Next time you give it to me, it was never satisfied. Actually, I think when they sent to some, I don't know what he's called, the guy who reads handwritings. Graphology. He sent the Rebbe's handwriting. The guy didn't know who it was. And one of the things he said, he's never satisfied. A person is never satisfied. He's a person never satisfied. It says in Musas, the Rebbe quoted from Musas for him. Istapik v'mu'id is good in Gashmis. To satisfy with whatever you have. In Ruchnius, chas v'sholem. I remember the Rebbe once, he quoted from the Musas for, I don't know what to say, but he meant, you say, Mishamayim mimal, aloras mitochas. When it comes to Inyonim Shamayim, you have to always look mimal, always higher. Shamayim mimal, look higher. Look, you could go better, you could do more, always feel you could do more. When it comes to La'oretz, you have to always look mitochas, you always look down. Somebody has less than me, so what's, I'm rich, I have, but this is what, so, the bottom line is, we are Tzidach Chabad, and it's not an easy job. Really the Rebbe gives kefes. What did the Rebbe say? Shvat, Koshin with Aleph. Zog zech nishtop to help, and not to help, but you have to work yourself, and we have to work. And we have to realize what we are. The fourth key is Rabbi Pinchas Katz used to announce. Used to make the patch, and he said, "Keiner soll nicht stehen auf kein Boxes, nach kein Bank." Ich soll gedenken, für wem ich stehe, wo mich stehe, für wem ich stehe. Remember always where you're standing, for whom you're standing. You're standing in front of the Rebbe. We always have to remember that. We always have to remember. We have to remember the Eibishter, that's the bottom line. But who makes us realize that we're always in front of the Eibishter? That's the Rebbe. So, l'chaim, l'chaim. Du bist Tammuz auf der Welt. And you bist Tammuz. Chag HaGula. We have to go out in a gula for ourselves. We have to remember what's expected of us, what does the Rebbe want of us, and the Rebbe is standing right in front of us. What did the Rebbe say? You have to build a house that the Rebbe will walk in and feel comfortable. The Rebbe will walk into your house, walk into my heart and feel comfortable. L'chaim, l'chaim. After all, it's Yudbi Stammuz. Tonight is Yudbi Stammuz. And Yudbi Stammuz is on the Alp. The Rebbe gave Kirchhoff to all the Yidden in Rusland to stand with Mesiras Nefesh. And the whole reason we have in Russia now all this awakening of Yiddishkeit and in all the different cities, so thanks to Yudbi Stammuz. If not for Yudbi Stammuz, it's not what would not have happened. It would have been no more Yiddishkeit, and then start from scratch building. I guess there was always left some Yiddishkeit, and this is all because of Yudbi Stammuz. And people I know from my parents who came from Russia, and we hear from other people who came from Russia. You're a generation later. 2 generations later, we came from Russia. We heard all the things in the Mesiras Nefesh that he had, and especially, he told the stories when he talked about when he killed him, he called him Asar of Malchus, or but I felt it, so I feel there's something that I want to tell over, because in Suva I'm commanded, I was asked by the Rebbe to tell this over. When I went to Russia, like I said, talked to Mem around it, and communism was still strong, and Yiddishkeit was very hidden, and we couldn't do it. So I'll tell you. So I want to say something over that the Rebbe said, gave over a message to me that I should say it over. I went to Russia then. I went with my wife. We went and we shot him. All kinds of stories how when my parents told me what they felt when they were in Russia, it was a main versteht sich. Even those years, the guy there, That's not what I want to say. Kalmo Melech told me that he was working with Farbrengen this, so the KGB harassed him a lot. Finally, he says he came to the KGB and he told them, "Why are you bothering me? According to our constitution, we're allowed to be thrown. So why are you bothering me?" So they know they said to him, "This is not in Tov Reish Pei Zayin, 1927. This was in 1980, 1979, 1980. They said to him, "Yeah, you're right. You're the Lubavitch." The Lubavitch was the biggest contradiction to their philosophy. Their philosophy was apikursis. Apikursis meaning completely denial in Hashem. And Chassidus tells us completely believing in Einay Movadi, nothing but Hashem, and that's what they were. And that's what they couldn't take. The worst enemy to them was Lubavitch. Because that's the thing, that's the worst thing. Anyway, so when I went there, so when I came to Moscow, there was somebody who wrote a book in Russian about a book for women, about things for women. And since I told him, but we went to Moscow, Leningrad, and Odessa. We're going to Odessa. There's a person in Odessa that this book has to go to. And this guy asked us, "Could you take the book along since you're going to Odessa?" And he told us, "It's very dangerous for you. It's written in Russian." Any sefer we had an excuse that for our personal use. We're tourists in Russia, but I don't speak Russian. What are you doing with a Russian book? Elamai, what is it? Propaganda. The worst thing in Russia was propaganda. So it's dangerous. So I'm not telling you should take it, but I'm asking you if you want, you could take it. And when you get there, the moment you come into this person's house, tell the person to run outside, to hide it someplace outside, because the KGB will be right in the house right after you.
Wow.
I remember when we had that book, I said, let your wife hold the book because they won't search her as fast as they will search you. Don't ever leave it in the room because the room is going to be searched. And we know the room was searched because once when we were in the room, and by mistake they thought we were outside, and a KGB agent came in. Wow. Oh, I'm sorry, they won't stop. So they searched your room for sure. They said, don't keep it in the room, they'll find it. Keep it on you, but let your wife hold it in her pocketbook because then it's less chance. But if they do catch you with it, be ready, you'll go to jail in Russia. We had it with us, I can tell you. I don't remember being afraid of anything like those few days till we went to Odessa. We had it, my wife had it in her pocketbook. We were going in a taxi and there was a guy who was our guide, Bocher, Yudah, his name was Yudah. And we spoke in Hebrew. And as we're driving, he passed a red light.
You drove from Moscow to Odessa?
No. When we were driving in Moscow. So he passed a red light. And the cop stopped him and took him out. And the Yudah tells us, you should know that sometimes when the driver of a taxi sees there's some kind of illegal stuff being done in the taxi, he will get past the red light, so the cop should stop and touch. So be ready that they're going to check you.
Sure.
They're going to search you. And we're sitting there and I'm waiting, what's going to happen now? We have 10 minutes and within the next 5 minutes we go to jail. And in Russian jail, I don't remember being afraid like I was afraid then. It turned out then that he took past the red light. It wasn't for any reason. So we had it. Finally we came to Odessa. I have to tell you that not the KGB followed us. They came there before we got there. They were at the house before we got there. I have no idea how they knew that we were going there. They were there, we saw them already, so we came to the house. But there were a lot of details around it. But anyway, we saw a little baby in the crib. Baby in the crib looked like it was about 6 months old. And this was Purim time, after Purim. So the woman tells us that this baby was born a week or two before Yom Kippur. And there's no male in Odessa. Any person who wanted the bris would have to travel to Moscow. But you know, what everybody did was, first of all, she had a baby, she's still just had a baby, so they used to wait a few months, and the baby gets older, and the mother gets healthier, and then they would go. But she says to me, I couldn't accept it that my son should have passed Yom Kippur without a bris. How could Yom Kippur without a bris? So what did she do? She says, she tried to make a reservation on the plane to go to Moscow. Even though she just had a baby, she's not healthy yet. Couldn't do it, so he went by train. He went by train, 24 hours, around that to get there. She came right back. You know what? To me it was, what's a woman? And the second thing she said, I asked her, what does she use in mikveh? She goes to the Black Sea. As a desert, by the Black Sea. Freezing water in the middle of winter. Everyone knows the Black Sea doesn't freeze, doesn't become ice, because it flows. But it's freezing water. So I asked her, how do you go when it's freezing water? You know what she told me? She looked at me as if I'm crazy. What do you mean? You gotta go to the mikveh. How was you going to do? You gotta go to the mikveh. I remember these two stories affected me so much. I looked at myself, I said, we came to Russia, Bola Lamed, we came to teach people Torah. I gave shurim in Gemara, I gave shurim in Siddas, I gave Farbrengen. My wife did the other. The Nimtza Lamed. It turned out I learned more from them than I taught them. The Siddas Nefesh they had, and the pashtas that they had. I asked one guy, he was one of the guys used to arrange Farbrengen from time to time in the very hidden place. So I asked, how do you do it? You're not afraid? So he answered me, yes, I'm afraid. So what should I do? And that's what we. And I'm thinking to myself, here are people there that give up their life for Yiddishkeit. And what do? We're sitting here in America. I'll see Boston, as we call it. Anyway, when I came back on a Friday morning. I wrote to the Rebbe a very small report, duch, of our trip. I wrote that I'm going to give a detailed duch after next week. I had a mind to write these two things because that affected me very much. I'm telling you, it affected me in the Mesiras Nefesh of a Jewish woman, a simple woman that she didn't learn a Besifke, she didn't say Mesiras Nefesh. Like she looked at me crazy that after the mikvah, I said, who cares if it's cold, it's freezing. Same thing with her son. So I had a mind to write it, but I was so revolted, I forgot to write it. After I gave him the tzedek to the Rebbe, I called it to the Rebbe and I said, I had a mind to write this story, and I forgot. If you get a chance, tell it to the Rebbe. Friday night, I was in 770, and someone tells me Rabbi Groner is looking for you. I find him, and he says to me like this. The Rebbe said these words, Zogem, tell me, Zoler does der Zeilun zu the Higebala Mesiras Nefesh. In other words, he told the Rebbe that Mesiras Nefesh and these people, tell it to the people here to go on Mesiras Nefesh. In other words, it's sarcastically. In other words, people who think they go on Mesiras Nefesh, we also go on Mesiras Nefesh. We could have had sushi, and I went to Mesiras Nefesh, and I didn't have sushi. This is the real Mesiras Nefesh. Nowadays, Mesiras Nefesh, I mean things like that. Because I have to go to the ship to somebody, so I missed my sushi. So the Rebbe said, tell him, that's what I feel on the Tzuvah. So the Rebbe said to him, tell him that he should tell it to the Higebal of Mesiras Nefesh, the people who go on, think, didn't say think, but go on Mesiras Nefesh here. So I remember being there, all the details is not the game. There's one thing I want to say about one detail which was interesting. When we went to Russia, that's the time when the digital watches came out. Digital watches, it goes back to Tofshin Mem, and now Tofshin Karim, it's 40 some years ago. So they sent it along with us, as Sachin was involved, and they said, when you come there, find out on the black market how much could you get for a watch like that. Because when they sent the packages, a mishpacha could live a half a year up to a year on the package, selling it on the black market. They wanted to know how much money can they get for this watch, and the question was 300 ruble or 400 ruble. So as soon as we came, we went to Getch's house, and we called Yudah, whatever. Even when how we got to Getch's house, he told us our address and said, so I can go a different place. Anyway, we came there, and we gave this Yudah the watch. I said, before we leave, we want to hear an answer. 300 ruble or 400 ruble. The day that we left, we got to Getch's house, and I said to Getch, please call Yudah. I couldn't call because it was bugged, the phones were all bugged. So they would hear a fireman voice, they would know it's somebody. If you call. So I'm sitting there, and Getcher calls Yudah, and he says, Yudah, you know the question that we asked you in the beginning, what's the answer? And he understood. The question was, is it 300 ruble or 400 ruble? So he says to him, So der Inje von Chabad. Hangs on the phone, he tells me it's 300 rubles. That's Chabad. So I said to him, you learn Chassidus, sometimes it says that Das is Michlet Mishnayim. Das is like, that's why the film Shorosh, you have on one side a shin of 3, and the other a shin of 4. Because Das sometimes is considered 2, because Das is the one that makes you have the midas, and maybe the Das is 2, so maybe it's 4. How do you know it's 3? Yes, you're right. He picks up the phone, calls Yuda again. Yuda, tell me, is Chabad Nichlet L'Shnayim or not? He said, no, Chabad's not. Takes the phone, so it's 300 rubles, it's not 400 rubles. This is the way to live. Every moment when we say what are we? I'm saying it now because the Yumi Stamas is the time of Mesiras Nefesh, of the Friedrich Rebbe, and all the other things. It's not only a time when we celebrate the Mesiras Nefesh of the Rebbe. The Rebbe brought out the Mesiras Nefesh in every single year. And all the Chassidim. We went to Mesiras Nefesh for Yiddishkeit. And what do we do about it? What do we have to take about it? We have to take to ourselves. We should have a little bit of Mesiras Nefesh. Tiny bit. Learn a little bit more of Chassidus. Yeah, but I'm not used to it, and it's hard. Learn a little bit more of Chassidus. Do something that's beyond your regular. Beyond what you regularly do. That's called going out of your limitations. That's what Mesiras Nefesh is. Going out of your limitations. Go on with soy a little bit more. Learn a little bit extra. For Bocher and Befrat, that's important. Learn a little bit extra. And that's what the Gul of Yiddish Tammuz represents to us. So, l'chaim. That should happen. We should do that. And as I said, Hashem used to say, be ubi Hashem. Otherwise, I should affect myself. I'm trying to affect myself. I got an opportunity here to speak to myself. You know, Farbrengen. Who are you to speak? How am I to sit here and speak to you guys? Why in the world should I speak to you guys? It makes no sense. Who am I? Ever mind. I have to speak to myself. You speak to yourself, know what they'll do, but take you in the Shigoyim with you. Take you in the crazy house. Who speaks to himself? Shigoyim speaks to himself. So you got to hear other people listening, but it's not that. I'm trying to convince myself, and it's not. I'm having a hard time. I'm not convinced yet. I'm sure you're also not convinced. I'm trying to convince myself that we got to be at you know, something more than what we think we are. What this morning in Ruchnius and learning the davening, the Epis more Navedas Hashem, the Skashos and the Rebbe, doing with Soyim Epis more that you know, and to have a never stop. Always be worried that we're not doing enough. Again, that's what the Rebbe wanted. Always be worried that we're not doing enough. Because Shirayim of the Rebbe is Mechayim, not Mezaki. No, it's Mezaki, but it's also Mechayim.
So I want to tell you a big koyach, because I have known that story for many, many years. I heard it many years, and I heard it directly from Rabbi Groner in 2011, but I always thought that who sent the information into the Rebbe was the Moel. The Moel saw that this woman came all the way and was, I think, many hours in the train, 20 hours, 18 hours. So now I had the chance to listen the story directly from the first hand, from the source. But what I heard from Rabbi Groner was, when he heard the whole story, he said, I'm not quoting the Rebbe, I was not there. Go and share the story so people really understand what's Mesiras Nefesh. And you know, when you think about that story, a woman takes a newly born and goes on a train for 18, 20 hours, and then comes back because she doesn't want her son to be without a bris before Yom Kippur. It gets you to understand many things, you know, put in perspective. People think, okay, very good, you took a little bit of food to somebody in the hospital, and you think that you move the whole heavens, and you are and then you should come to reality. Baruch Hashem, you took the food for the hospital, but it's not, that's all these years I have had that in my mind.
No, you got it the first time.
Así que para voy a ponerte así.
Estamos trabajando en algo nuevo, señor Roth.
Dentro de poco van a abrir robots y van a meter a la gente.
Sería bueno que
eso sí, a robot le vamos a hacer el
yo creo que voy a ir a dormir para prepararme mañana para el bar mitzvah.
Which is the day that Rebbe came to America. That's a major date in Jewish history, which means automatically Jewish history. That was the Rebbe came to America because the Rebbe came to Olive, but that was the time when the Mahapecha means the revolution approached Yiddishkeit in America. So I remember with a Peretz Moshkin. Peretz Moshkin is your grandmother's father. Great-grandmother's father. Since your great-grandfather is my uncle, so I learned in New York, I learned in some 70. So I used to drink a lot in the house of your great-grandmother. I was always there with your grandfather, great-grandfather. I learned a lot. We always were the best. Not much like brothers, more than just brothers. And so I used to be there around with her whenever the Peretz Moshkin was there. So I told her Peretz Moshkin, I heard that there was once in Lubavitch came a Sagresa Makubal, and his name was Leibel Hoffman. He was a big Makubal, and he said that he sees a Pikabola that before Mashiach, the Rabbeim are going to be in America. So I heard it, I could tell a story of the Rebbe, the Baal Shem Tov. So the Peretz Moshkin starts laughing. He says, Leibel Hoffman? Yeah, I know Leibel Hoffman. By that Farbrengen that he said this, I was there. I was sitting by that Farbrengen. And I heard him say, Lubavitch, I heard him say that Rabbi will have to come to America. Because America is, we're talking about the United States, but the same thing with South America, Central America, that it's the Chotzi Kader Atacht. It's the other half of the side of the world. And you know what? Matan Torah wasn't there. There's a letter from the Friedrich Rebbe to the Rebbe, where the Rebbe asked, I heard that the Alter Rebbe said that Matan Torah wasn't in Chotzi Kader Atacht. In America, there was no Matan Torah. You know what? Some people say that. There's a pasuk that says, Lei Me'ever Layam. Torah is not given Me'ever Layam, so that's what Me'ever Layam in America, people stop keeping Torah. Lei Me'ever Layam. But he said, so it's a very grobe place. But Mashiach, when he'll come, will have to be mavared even the lowest of the lowest. Jeder betachteinu means tachteinu mamish. Not mavared. So he'll have to come to America. The Rabbeim will have to come to America and bring Chassidus to America, because America is the tachten, and that's what will happen. So he said he was there by that Farbrengen. The Leibel Hoffman was a Makubal. He's mentioned in Lekut Deburim in the Sikh of the Friedrich Rebbe, and he was talking Makubal, and it was a Rebbe Hasham's Chassid, and he came and he wants Farbrengen with the Bachrim, and he said this. Mashiach will have to come in America.
What you mean with Kabbalah?
I don't know. Where he took it from Kabbalah, which part of Kabbalah he said, but after Kabbalah he sees that Mashiach, that the Rabbeim will have to be in America before Mashiach comes. And the embassy is, there was a delegation from America that came to the Sholem Belzer. Sholem Belzer, the first Belzer ever, and asked them to come to America. There's no Yiddishkeit in America, they should come. And he says, give me 3 days to think about it. After 3 days, he comes back and he says, I can't come to a place where not the Baal Shem Tov, but not the Talmidei Baal Shem Tov were there. The avir, the air, is ma'upish. Ma'upish means it's what's the word for it?
Rotten.
It's dirty. The air is dirty. It's contaminated. I think that's the word. I can't come. And he said, I think what you should do is go to one of the Misnagdish Gdolim and ask them. They don't know these things. So they came to the Ridvaz. There's a Pirush on Yerushalmi called Ridvaz. Don't mix it up with the Radvaz. Radvaz was a Rishon. The Ridvaz. And he came to him and he came to America. Believe me, it didn't last too long. He went right back. He went back. He couldn't take what was going on in Yiddishkeit in America. So, Rabbeim had to come to America. And Chov Chesim, which is the day that Rebbe came to America, that's the day they brought the idea of a Lukus even into the Tachten Lamat Shem Tachten Lamat Hayman. Test order used to be, before people even knew that the Rebbe came to America, Chov Chesim, it wasn't known. But always they celebrated Test orders. Tovshin Chov Hey, Shabbos was Test orders. And there's a lot of these American Chassidim that were here when the Rebbe came to America, the Friedrich Rebbe, they came to Farbrengen from different states, like Rabbi Fogelman from Worcester, and they all came. Remember the Farbrengen, the Rebbe spoke about it, and the Rebbe said that even though he didn't see anywhere in Halach, in Torah, that 25 years is a number. 10 we find, 20 we find, 30 we find, 50. Where does it say 24? But nevertheless, anything that helps out in Yiddishkeit is a good thing. So if people came to Mark for 25 years, the Rebbe spoke about the Frierdiker Rebbe coming to America, bringing the Lakus into this side of the world. That's why the Frierdiker Rebbe, when he came to America, he came out with this union of Chazaring Mishnayis Balpeh. He said, when you walk in the street, you should Chazer Mishnayis Balpeh. Why? Because you're cleaning the air, the polluted air that's there. And I've seen myself many times when the Rebbe used to walk from his house to 770. Later years, he went by car. But the earlier years, when I say early, I don't mean the Yuz, but the Chofs. The Yuz I wasn't there, but the Chofs I was there. And the Rebbe would walk to 770 with a bag of all the answers that he wrote, and the settlers that people wrote, and he answered it through the night. He wrote it. They even have a pictures going down around now. The Rebbe carrying a paper bag like you come from Publix. I don't know what Publix is in Miami, in Florida, is the main supermarket. He come with a paper bag. He walked around with a paper bag. He came, and I saw many times that he was saying things. You could see his mouth moving. And I don't know, I couldn't hear what he said, but I would imagine it was Mishnayis Balpeh that he was saying, because the Frierdiker Rebbe said to do it, and the Frierdiker Rebbe, they made a whole thing of Mishnayis, and the whole Siyum, and the whole big fuss over it. So the Frierdiker Rebbe, so because it's polluted. And I don't think that Panaman is different in any way, that it's more holy than any other place. And to know that this is part of the world that Matan Torah wasn't there. What if Shab Matan Torah wasn't there? They used to get the Torah to everybody. But because it's Chotzikadat Atach, means the bottom half of the ball. There's two types of Chotzikadat. When you have a ball like this, there's the top is the Chotzikadat, the bottom is Chotzikadat Atach. Then you have it the other way, this way on the back. So when there was Matan Torah, they spread to this way, but they didn't go to the back. So the Yeder of Matan Torah, now the Rebbe writes, in American, he writes clear American, it's not the same. Yeah, here, the Yidin is this nefesh, they have to deal with the Lakus because it's not so simple. It wasn't there. But Chotzikadat Atach, the other side of the world, and they was the house, and when you have something here, it spreads this way. But the spread to the back, that doesn't go so fast. But anyway, that second half of the side of the globe didn't really have Matan Torah in the same way. And therefore, you have to do something. And the Rabbi had to come to America to do it, to bring the Lakus into America. That's what the Rebbe said to many people. At Miami, I don't know what the Lashon said, whether it could be or should be or will be. Yerushalayim of Chutzlaretz. Just like Yerushalayim is a place that everyone comes to it and takes back from Yerushalayim to their home. Everybody comes to Miami. The Rebbe said to take back, if you're doing the right thing, to be a Dugma Chaya, a living example, everyone take back home. So I don't know what the Rebbe said. If he said it could be, it should be, it will be, it is, I don't know exactly. The people themselves didn't remember, but definitely is because we could make from our place, we could make from a place like here into a Mokim Kodesh, into a holy place. We can make it into a Mishkan. It's up to us. That's what's going to bring Mashiach. That's what the Rebbe means. That's what the Rebbe put us here. It says in Medrash that they wish to put Echad Geila Barbaria, Echad Geila Sarmatia, every Eden all over, and they bring Gili Lakus in the world. That's what it is. I think that's the beer and the whole meaning that the Rebbe said to print kindness all over. It's one of those things that's not understood. Most of the Mifsaim of the Rebbe is understood. You could mask it up to Seichel Anushi. To put on film with you. It's a brilliant idea. That even you could get him to do this. It's got to be brilliant for you. But you could be a brilliant person. All the Mifsaim, Kashas, all the Mifsaim, the Mifsa of right of Britkas and every single thing. Huh? The Gash means what's the purpose? Elamai, you want to have a lot of time. Print in one place 10 million times. If you want to have times, print 10 million times here, send it to every city. What's the union of printing a time in every city? What's the union? If not for a union Ruchni, and I don't mean mitzvahs are all Ruchnis. So when the Rebbe would say, do a lot of mitzvahs, it's all ruchnis. They say this is ruchnis, shabaruchnis. What's the purpose of printing a Tanya? Far from the place in Thailand. What's the purpose of it? You need Tanyas there. Bring a lot of Tanyas there. Need people to learn Tanya, to make a share of Tanya there. What is the printing? And so ruchnis begins to bring into the whole world, in every place of the world, this mekudah of Eidin Movada with Tanya steps. That's our job wherever we are. Miami, you're in Panaما, you're in New York, wherever it is, we have one mission. And everyone has his own mission, not to mix it. Bochim have their mission. Bochim Shulchim have their mission. Alabatim have their mission. Whether you are a shliach, formally, officially, or not, every yid is a shliach to Rebbe. Every chassid certainly is a shliach to Rebbe. We gotta live up to it. I know you're waiting for the niggin. I don't want to keep you in suspense. There's a niggin that I heard from my father. He's saying it one way, and I don't know, other people saying a different nusach. It's similar to the niggin of Pischel Yachisel Yossi, Yonossi Samosi. I heard it that Mendele Vitebsky went to Radoki, when he had the Gaguyim, he had the desire to meet the Rebbe, the Magid, he would sing this niggin. So it's a niggin that since my father sang it, I feel close to it. So let me tell you what the niggin is. I don't know if everyone agrees to this niggin. Some say the niggin is different, but this is the niggin. This is the way I heard it. And this is the niggin. Wenn ich wollt haben goldene Flieglach, wollt ich zu dir geflogen. Wenn ich wollt haben goldene Flieglach, wollt ich zu dir geflogen. Ay, 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 da, da, ya, da, da, ya, da, da, ya, ya, da, da, ya, da, da. Ay, 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 da, da, ya, da, da, ya, da, da, ya, da, da. If I would have golden wings, I would fly to you. I would fly to you. If I would have golden wings, I would fly to you. Yeah, 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 Wenn ich wollt haben goldene Räder, wollt ich zu dir gefahren, wollt ich zu dir gefahren, wenn ich soll haben goldene Räder, wollt ich zu dir gefahren. Ja, 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 If I would have golden wheels, I would ride to you. I would ride to you. If I would have golden wheels, I would ride to you. Wenn ich wollt haben a goldene Penne, wollt ich zu dir geschrieben, wollt ich zu dir geschrieben, wenn ich wollt haben a goldene Penne, wollt ich zu dir geschrieben. Ja, 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 If I would have a golden pen, I would write to you. I would write to you. If I would have a golden pen, I would write to you. Yeah, 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 goldenen Finger, wollt ich es zu dir gegeben, wollt ich es zu dir gegeben, wenn ich wollt haben a goldenen Finger, wollt ich es zu dir gegeben. If I would have a golden ring, I would give it to you. I would give it to you. If I would have a golden ring, I would give it to you. Hey,
Yeah.
I think like this. I think we should sing the Beinyanim. The Beinyanim is a niggun that's very hard to sing. It's a free Rebbe's niggun. The Rebbe is a free Rebbe's niggun. I think maybe after that, I think we should sing the Alter Rebbe's niggun. Do this Tammuz, we should sing the Alter Rebbe's niggun. We should sing the Alter Rebbe's niggun. And then we'll see right. The Rebbe, the Farbrengen, except the last few years, but the Alter Rebbe's niggun was the most important thing to sing. After Purim Toshin Chai, Rabbi told me that the Rebbe took a lot of mashke. And this was Thursday night. Shabbos, the Rebbe called him in, and the Rebbe asked him to repeat the sichos that he said. He didn't remember what he said. And he said to the Rebbe said to him, till after the Maimer of a Gehalten Kop. I kept my head. After the Maimer, don't remember what happened. And one of the things he asked him very strongly, did they sing the Alter Rebbe's name? And he said yes. And the Rebbe again asked him, are you sure? The Rebbe was afraid maybe he's not saying the truth, he's just making the Rebbe feel good. And then the Rebbe called my groaner not to ask him about the sichos, but ask him about what was going on. And he asked him again, did they sing the Alter Rebbe's name? So it's very important. I mean, Vistam is one of those times we sing the Alter Rebbe's name.
Before we can I just ask him, he touched the niggun that you sang before?
But the shot. The way the story goes, that the men that Adoker, this was a gaguyim that he had to do it for Magid. The gaguyim he had to the Rebbe, to his Rebbe. He says, I would do anything to give away for you to see it, to get to you. Having wheels, I would go to you if I have whatever. And golden means if I have it properly. Golden represents it, it's proper. If it be proper, if I be proper, I would run to you, I would give you everything over I have. My nefesh, ruach, neshama, chay, yechid, give over to the Rebbe. That's what he said. And it was Gaguyim. I don't know if he's saying it after the Istalkas of the Maggid or even before the Istalkas. When he was away in his city and he had this feeling for the Maggid, he says, I'll give anything away for you. If I have golden wheels, I have a golden ring, if I have a golden pen, everything I would give away to you. That's the Ibergegebenkeit that the Chassidim, the Talmidim, the Maggid had to the Maggid, to the Rebbe. And that's what Chassidim saying constantly. I think we should sing the Beinyanim.
Yeah.
That's in the beginning.
The nickname that we said before, Adochet had the gargoyle to the Magi. I want to say we could relate to it. Sometimes you start thinking, Rebbe said Yud, that you should remind yourself of times when you're by the Yechidus with the Rebbe, time when you were by Farbrengen the Rebbe. So we have to remind ourselves a certain time. When you remind yourself of certain special occasions by the Rebbe, it brings you back to old memories. Now, old memories are no good. You know what Chassidim used to say? Bochei timche ezecher amol. Like, don't think about amol. People think about amol. Amol is good, amol is good. You have to live with the present. Elamai, you need to know the amol, because the Friedrich Rebbe said a lotion. Ovar malamed esos. To know what to do now further, you have to do what that was amol. But you have to live with No. But nevertheless, in order to know what to live to now, you have to remember the Amol. And sometimes you start reminding yourself. The Rebbe said you should do that. You should look back and remind yourself what happened. Certain times when you were by the Rebbe, how it was. And I know that some people, it's hard to relate to it, because many people, most of the people here, were born after Gimel Tammuz. They don't remember the Rebbe. They were born, not only they were kids, babies when Gimel Tammuz. They were born after Gimel Tammuz. So on one hand, the fact that you're born after Gimel Tammuz and you are the way you are, that's the biggest smile. Rebbe explains an interesting pasuk. It says when Yaakov Avinu told Yosef that his two sons, Ephraim and Menashe, are going to be Kiruvim and Shimon Yili. They're going to be the Shvatim. What did he say? He said, Shnei Banecha Nilodim Lecho Terem Bei Elecha Mitzrayim. The two sons that were born to you before I came to Mitzrayim, they will be the ones. Kiruvim and Shimon Yili. Everyone knows that Ephraim and Menashe was born before the Yaakov came to Mitzrayim. But it's supposed to be repeated. So the Rebbe said the pasuk is giving, Yaakov is giving a reason. Why is he choosing them? Because they never saw me. They weren't by me. They weren't raised through me. And nevertheless, they are the way they are. That's when they deserve it. And that's the pshat. Those people who were born after Gimel Tammuz, or at least they don't remember anything from before, and they are the way they're supposed to, that's the tachlis hakavana. That's that. They have special keches, that's for sure. But nevertheless, those that were before, it's kedai to remind myself, and I sometimes think, remind myself that the years that everyone, what is the best years? When he was a bocher in yeshiva. Shas was a bocher, loved after he did everything right. Yeah, we know that. It happens sometimes, Not exactly. But later when it comes back, when you get smarter, when you get older, you look back, those were my best years. If I would have only been the way you should be, etc. Best years. So they're the best years. So everyone has his best years when he was by the Rebbe. And I'm just looking back at, sometimes when you think about it, especially when it comes to Farbrengen, to look back and think about the time when we were by the Rebbe. I'm talking about the chofs. Till I went to Ashlichas, I moved to Miami, which was Tovshin Lamed Aleph. Lamed Daled, 1974, it was actually the end of 73. But till then, I came to New York to learn New York. My family lived in Cleveland. We came from Europe, from Russia, then Paris to America. It was Tovshin Yud Gimel, 1953. Family went into Yechidus. I remember the Yechidus from 1953. It's a long time ago. 1953. It was Elul Tovshin Yud Gimel. And as Chatoya and Emasker, I have to tell you, the Rebbe asked me, do I know Shema? I was a little kid, 6 years old. I said, yeah, Rebbe, could you say it? I was shy, I was embarrassed. The next day I heard that there was another family who came from Europe with children. And the Rebbe asked the boy to say Shema, and he said, the Rebbe gave me silver dollar. Oh, I feel bad that I didn't say it, but that's how it was. And then we were in Cleveland, we lived in Cleveland with your Elder Zayden, and our families actually were like one family. Not brothers, not cousins, but brothers and sisters. Parents were brothers, but we were mamish like one. And the first time I came to the Rebbe was Tovshin Yud Gimel, Tovshin Yud Ches. For Simchas Torah, Tovshin Chai, Tovshin Yud Ches. That's when I came the first time to the Rebbe. I remember by Lekach, the Rebbe would give Lekach Ervim Kippur. Those Orchim who came later, the Rebbe gave Lekach Ishan Harab. We came for Simchas Torah, I mean, the Rebbe gave Lekach Ishan Harab. So we're standing in line. I remember I was standing with my father in the line, and by Lekach, or by dollars later, or by Kosher Baruch, the Rebbe didn't stop and ask questions. When someone asked for a Baruch, they stopped. When it came to my turn, came right in front of my father, and the Rebbe turns to me, and the Rebbe says, "Vos hast du gelernt?" So I said, I learned, this was an Elul time, I learned Mesichta Beyeh. So I said Mesichta Beyeh. Then the Rebbe asks me, which halachas did you learn? So later I realized, years later, it probably meant which halachas, which meant, in other words, which sugi did you learn? I don't know. But when he asked halacha, I said, I learned Hilchas Shefer. So the Rebbe asks me, I want to ask you a question. How many keilas do you blow on Rosh Hashanah? So I said 100. Everyone knows you blow 100 keilas. Then the Rebbe asks me, tell me, those 100 keilas, is Medina the Gemara or not? The little kid, I have no idea. Does it come from the Gemara or not? And I tell you, I asked many people later, no one would answer. Is it from the Gemara or not? Everyone knows it's not that Eisen. That Eisen, you blow 30 keilas. Really, you blow 9. But we don't know what a trua is, so we make a so it's 30. So we blow 30 keilas. But Leibel, we blow later 30, and we blow more, we blow 100. Where does it come from? Is it in the Gemara someplace that you have to blow 100 keilas? So these are the words he asked me. Is it Medina the Gemara or not? I didn't know what to answer. He selected and said, and that's it. That was the first time I came to the Rebbe. And I remember it as much as I was a little child then. I was 10, 11. So this is, you believe in my cup, that connection to the Rebbe, where the Rebbe asked me those questions thing. I remember that because the sukkah, there was no, the shul was not built yet. So the shul downstairs was not built yet. So where did the Rebbe daven and Farbrengen? In the shalash, we call it, in the big sukkah. And the Rebbe's sukkah was not where it's later in front of 770. The Rebbe's sukkah was downstairs in that basement, outside in the shalash, right in front of the shalash. And I remember the picture in my mind. I'm standing there in front of the Rebbe, and the Rebbe's talking to me. As a little kid. Also remember from that Farbrengen, I didn't understand what the Rebbe was saying. All the Farbrengen, it was Farbrengen one after another, I didn't understand. One word I remember. I looked in the Hanochas of Farbrengen, it's not there. But I remember, I can tell 100% it was there. I remember speaking about the Farbrengen, and the Rebbe said that we have to do Birur Hamidis. Mevarer Yemidis. And then the Rebbe says, Hashver Aveda. It's hard. He smiled and he turned around and he said, Adar, try it, you'll see. I remember that word. It's not in the Hanochas, it's not there. Remember the Rebbe said. Then there was another thing of that Farbrengen, the famous Kaltu Shmutzig. Famous Kaltu, and I was there. Tovshin Yud Ches. What's Kaltu Shmutzig? They Farbrengen, davening was in the shalash. It was like a sukkah with a canvas covering. You can imagine, the canvas covering had 50 million holes. And when it rained in. I remember it rained Simchas Torah. It rained and rained and rained. There was so much mud there because it was outside really. When the Rebbe came to daven, the Gabbai stopped the Rebbe by the door and told the Rebbe, you can't daven downstairs because he kalt and schmutzig. It's cold and dirty.
Lights were out?
That's a different thing. Kalt and schmutzig. That's what kalt and schmutzig. The Rebbe heard it, so the Rebbe went daven upstairs in the small shul upstairs. That's where he davened. Then by the Farbrengen, Shabbos was Shabbos Breishis. It was 3 days, Thursday, Friday, Shabbos, right away was Shabbos Breishis. There were two Farbrengen Shabbos Breishis, the morning Farbrengen and the afternoon Farbrengen. And then by the Rebbe was crying. That I remember as a kid. The Rebbe was crying and crying. And I remember what he said. You see in the Anochas, you see the Zichronos. I remember hearing it. The Rebbe said, a shliach came and told me that it's kalt shmutzig. You know what this means? It's a shliach min hashamayim. No, kalt shmutzig means cold and dirty. And he said, it's a shliach min hashamayim. We passed Elul, and we passed Rosh Hashanah, we passed Seres and Yitshuva, and we passed Yom Kippur, and the 4 days between Yom Kippur and Sukkot, and Yom Kippur Sukkot, and Chalamet Sukkot, and we're holding by Shana Rabbah, and we're Simchas. Usmachal's kalt shmutzig. He was crying and crying and crying, put his head down. Kalt shmutzig. Now, it was Simchas Torah. Shabbos, it was Shabbos bread. The Hemsh was Simchas Torah. To us, it was also Simchas Torah. It was 3 days of Simchas Torah. 3 days. Then, Tovshin Chov Gimel, the Shabbos before it was Kislev, Chai Kislev, the shul was built already, but the electricity went off. So the lights were done and the steam was done. So the Gabbai again stood by the Rebbe's door and told the Rebbe that we can't daven downstairs because he called to finster. It's cold and dark. And the Rebbe davened upstairs then, I remember. Imagine how many people could fit in upstairs. The Rebbe Farbrengen, they didn't know there'd be a Farbrengen. There was a special Farbrengen. Downstairs, in the dark, in the Kalt and Finster, there was a Farbrengen. Not only that, after the Farbrengen, the Rebbe davened up downstairs. Like this, those years, the Rebbe would finish the Farbrengen, go upstairs to his room, be there for a minute or two, come out to shul, down upstairs and daven mincha, and then we go home. This time we bedafke daven downstairs in the Kaltefest. But I remember at the end of the Farbrengen, the Rebbe said a story. There was once a Idene, a lady. In the Anochas they write up some Ishboshet. I remember it was a Idene, it was a lady, that she read the stories of Chumash in Tzenorene. Tzenorene is in Yiddish. The stories of Chumash, and she read the story of Yosef, the brother selling Yosef. And she cried and cried. Imagine Rachmanas on Yosef. Next year she read the story again and she didn't cry. So they asked her, why don't you cry? So she answered, you know what happened last year, why are you crying again? Why are you going again? So he didn't cry. So the Rebbe told the story. He said, I remember what happened a few years ago, and now I'm not spoiled anymore. I don't get excited over it. Failed for break, and then that night they fixed everything. So that was perfect for you, but there was other things that year which was very. Why am I saying this? I'm telling you, I'm speaking to myself, I'm trying to remind myself of special occasions being by the Rebbe. I remember the Rebbe spoke by that, like before Hakofes, the Simchas Farbrengen before Hakofes. He said the story, he said that whatever you do, the Yitzhorah get mixed in. The Yitzhorah takes part of it. And the Rebbe in the Sikha spoke about Atoresa. Before Hakofes, Atoresa. And he said a word from Baal Shem Tov and a word from the Friedrich Rebbe, all kinds of things he said. And then the Rebbe said, but what happens? The Yitzhorah is there with you. Then the Rebbe said like this, Zogst Atoresa, a word from Baal Shem Tov, a word from Baal Shem Tov, a word from Rebbe Meshach. Oh, but the Yitzhorah says, Ich bin Eichel. Then I remember like now the Rebbe banged on the table and the Rebbe said, Otado shtei the Yitzhorah. And he was crying and he put his head down. Mamish crying like that. Otado shtei the Yitzhorah. And you could see what he was speaking as he's speaking of himself trying to say this. Otado shtei the Yitzhorah. So I remember I came home to my Zayda's house. My Zayda was Zalman Zelenki, the Rebbe's Melamed. He couldn't come to Farbrengen, he was paralyzed. So he asked me, what did the Rebbe say? So I told him, that's when he told me the story of the Leibel went to the Magid. After he got married, he went to the Magid to learn. He came back, they were mechabed him to say Atoresa. So he took the talis, those other people say the talis, put the talis on the shoulder, and they're waiting for him to say. He announced him, he's going to say Atoresa. Not saying a word. They're waiting. Finally, they hear him say, Hey, Bazei Zogdu, if so, you say it. What happened? They asked him, what's going on? He said like this, I got up to say Atoresa. I turned around, next to me, he's there. Who's the Hidi Yitzhorah? He's there too. I also want to say it. He says, what are you talking about? Who are you? Who am I? I'm here. He says, I also want to say Atoresa. He said, you want to say Atoresa? How do you say it with me? I was by the Magid, and I learned by him. He says, you know what? When you learned, I was there with you. I also learned. He said, but I learned God Shas or whatever he said there. When you learned Shas, I learned it with you. And he told him a few things till finally the teacher says to him, hey, if so, you say. And he walked away. He didn't say it. You said. So Bazei told me that story. It's not in the Sikha. The Rebbe didn't say it. The same thing. The Rebbe, Otadosh Teidi, it's all over. That's what that Farbrengen. And there's another thing that happened. When the Rebbe taught this, when the Rebbe taught the Nig Stavia Pitu, it's a very hard Nig. Stavia Pitu, the words are hard. No one understood the words. It's not Russian. It's not Ukrainian. It's a mixture. Ad kedikach. No one understood the words. After Yom Tov, Merkez gave out a zettel with the words in Hebrew letters with Nekudis. And it wasn't the Rebbe's ksav, but they say the Rebbe wrote it down. And they copied it over and gave it out. No one, the Nign is a hard Nign, a lot of details to the Nign, no one understood it. So I remember the Rebbe taught the Nign, and the way when the Rebbe would teach the new Nign, that was a tzir for itself, it was nothing to describe what it was when the Rebbe taught the new Nign. But the Rebbe taught this Nign, and it was very hard. Usually when the Rebbe used to teach the Nign Simchas Torah, the next night, the Farbrengen, he would repeat the Nign. So he repeated the Nign the next night, and then he asked Moshe Kalashevsky to sing it. He had time already, a whole night, and he sang it. And then the whole crowd sang it. And then I remember when it came, part of the Nign is Hey, Cheshbon Tzedek Odavati. So remember the Rebbe sitting there, and he's singing, and he said like this: Oy Cheshbon Tzedek, and he stopped. Das meint man mir und dir und dir und dir. This means me and you and you. He pointed at 3 people. He didn't mean them correctly. He pointed at the whole section, but he pointed at 3 people. A few years later, after that, I saw one of the priests and I said, "You remember the Rebbe pointed at you when he said that?" He says, "Tell anybody." I remember that was said. Oh, das meint man mir und dir und dir und dir. These are the times that remain in your mind of experience by the Rebbe, which is beyond the Rebbe picked you up l'mayla masoret fochim. It's getting Shivos of Tammuz now. You bought me Tammuz, Shivos of Tammuz. Remember Shivos of Tammuz, Tov Shechov Dalet. It was Shabbos, was Shivos of Tammuz. It was a nidche. Everyone left to the country. No one expected there should be a Farbrengen, Shivos of Tammuz, Shabbos, Shivos of Tammuz. It was Farbrengen. It was such a special Farbrengen, very small crowd. It was such a special. The first part of the Farbrengen was regular, like the Shabbos. Then the Rebbe went into the Sinyan. It since it's a nitche, hail v'nitche yitche. That says Rebbe said, Rabbi Nossi said that the year that it's nitche, you don't have to fast b'chlal because nitche, hail v'nitche yitche. The Rebbe spoke about it. Everyone should say l'chaim. That's when the Rebbe said we should empty all the bottles. And he says, I don't mean to empty it on the floor. I mean just to drink it up. You know what? How many bottles were there by Farbrengen? Some odd reason, all of a sudden, a whole bunch of bottles of mashke appeared. I know where they came from. How they came?
Married?
From the lockers, I don't know.
Like you married?
Some.
They can make a l'chaim tonight.
I don't know. No, they have more than that.
More than that?
And the Rebbe was very, very feilach. Those years, the Farbrengen used to start 1:30, every day at Shabbos, would finish 4 o'clock. The whole Farbrengen, or 30 sometimes. Remember, the Farbrengen went on at 6 o'clock. 6 o'clock, the Rebbe opened the siddur to make a bracha achreina, and he started talking, and he didn't make a bracha achreina until 7 o'clock. And then the Rebbe said that after we finish Farbrengen, Chassidim should continue Farbrengen till Chatzos. Why bes Chatzos? So he said, if you look at Siddur, the Alter Rebbe in our Siddur, it says that Sfira Seimer, that you could only count Sfira Seimer with a bracha till Aleis HaShachar. And the Alter Rebbe writes, the Medina is Eilu, when is Aleis HaShachar? Chatzos. The Lochein, and that goes on, he says, till Shivos HaBatamuz, the Lochein, Shivos HaBatamuz, B'Chatzos, you got to stop eating. So the Rebbe said, Shvabrengen, I remember we had Chazorah, but there were a whole bunch of Bochum, I remember Melech Tzvivel, other Bochum went to Farbrengen, and I remember by Chatzos, they came to some 70 singing, Shikir, V'Shteitzach, and we were involved with the Chazorah, that's true. And so, but that Farbrengen was some special Farbrengen. The Rebbe said, bottoms up, and he told people to say, L'chaim, this person. It was Shivos HaBatamuz.
Officially, the Rebbe took off the zero.
So everyone could drink, and guys took advantage of it, and cigarette. These are types of situations that remind you. Besides, take Yechidus, to go into Yechidus to the Rebbe. You know what going to Yechidus to the Rebbe means? Push it to go into private Yechidus. There's no way to describe it. Going into, you felt something. If you say there's a concept of Gilui Lakus, the Lakus with Gilui, that's what you felt. You felt in a different world. And not to go into the preparations, Bochum made Achonis. You could tell on a Bochum. A week before the Chiddush, you know, you're going to Chiddush, you learn everything different. And going into the Chiddush, and I know Malcolm the Chiddush, you come in, you're standing alone with the Rebbe. Dollars was also a Chiddush, but Leibel the Rebbe said it's a Chiddush. But the Rebbe, it was all the same, but it's us. We're Anoshim, Gashmi, and we look at Tzenius, and you're standing by dollars, there are a whole bunch of people around. It doesn't feel like a Chiddush, like Farbrengen. The Rebbe says, somebody else, the Rebbe wants to go into Chiddush, and the Rebbe answered. בוודא יינא כמנהג אנש בזמן האחרון שנכנסים ליחידס בעץ ההתוועדות. But we grubber people don't feel it. That the Rebbe, it's true.
Not the whole Farbrengen.
You have to do it. But otherwise it doesn't work. And it's our fault. They say, the question to Magid before he passed away, he told his son, you know, I worked on myself, I'm no more goof. I'm not a goof anymore, not a body. He said, stop, I don't understand, how come I touch you, I feel goof? He said, because you're touching with goof. It's your problem, not our problem. It's your problem, you're touching with goof. You say what once Rabbi heard the figure had a stroke and he couldn't talk. So he Farbrengen the whole night. What was this Farbrengen about? Look how coarse the world became. We don't understand what the Rebbe said. He said, look what happened to the Rebbe. The Rebbe happened to us. Never. So we are lit that way. So we take it. So the Rebbe said, Farbrengen is Yechidus. Going into Yechidus was something. At certain other times, when you remember, I'm talking about the years of the Chofs, because that's why I gave Dagdon in it. Wherever you were a Bocher and you lived with the Rebbe, that's the years, those years of Farbrengen with the Sichos, with the Kutis, with the Chazorah, with all the things that I'm talking personally that I was involved. Remember to Shechov Tes. Remember to Lag Beimer. Actually, I was in New York now for Tammuz. I went upstairs with my son. I told him, I want to show you. Because every time I come to 7 I go upstairs and I remind myself that see you that happened that I'm going to tell you now. Because it's mamish that place. So Lag Beimer, the Rebbe came from the hill. Now the Rebbe, it's an interesting thing. Where did the Rebbe daven? When he davened upstairs, where did he daven? So in the weekdays he davened, you know, by the clock, by the door over there, going to the lobby. The Rebbe would sit there. Friday, Mincha, he would daven by the other door, by the Cheder Sheni.
Always facing the crowd? Always facing the crowd?
No, he was facing the wall. Facing the wall.
No, he never sat.
So, yeah, the chair and he had a stand there.
He never sat on the bench facing the crowd?
The regular days, he would sit by the bench, on the bench, by the clock, but he would sit facing the crowd. The only thing is, when he came to Tachman, he turned around and faced the wall. So I don't know if it should be facing Mizrach. I told somebody, the Rebbe came out that when you say Shem, you should face Mizrach. He said, maybe the Rebbe didn't want to do it in front of the crowd. Maybe, I don't know. And the Rebbe sat on the bench, regular bench of the Bochim. The Rebbe once spoke about it. Are the Bochim allowed to sit on that place on the bench? And he said, you're allowed to. It was my place in at 1 year. What was that called? And the Rebbe would come in from his room, through the hallway, into that and down. That's the weekdays, always the weekdays. Friday, the Rebbe would walk in from there, come through the shul, going through by the Kodesh, coming to the other door, and there they had the shtender, and the Rebbe davened there. When he finished Mincha, he went out into the Cheder Sheni, and he went around that way. I even remember once, somehow, some crazy thing, some person started a minyan in the hallway, and the Rebbe finished davening his minyan, and the Rebbe went out, they were saying Dusha. And the Rebbe walked out, and he got stuck behind the person. Rebbe, by Kedusha, they were saying Kedusha, never got stuck there. You imagine how the guy felt? Rebbe moved away.
Rebbe walked.
Not all the way, he moved away. So when I tell the story, the Rabbi, I don't say that. I say he jumped away, but it's not true. I saw myself, I saw him walk away. Anyway, getting back to the point. Now sometimes Shabbos Mincha, the Rebbe would daven also by the Cheder Sheni, and when he'd go out, he would go back the same way. So he went back through the Oren Kodesh and going out that way. Now here was Lag Beimer. The Rebbe came from the hill. After Mincha, it was crowded, and by the bench, by the Cheder Sheni, you know, under the windows, that behind there is the windows, that was my place. That's where I stood. Right next to me stood Reb Shmuel Witten. And when the Rebbe finished Mincha, instead of going that way, he started going this way. So we all thought that for some reason the Rebbe wants to go out this way. Everyone moved away, tried to let the Rebbe go. But when he came to this area, instead of going this way to the door, he started moving it this way. And I'm standing there. Shmuel saw the Rebbe coming, so the Shmuel Witten moved away, moved over on that side.
Towards the wall.
Towards the window. No.
More to the corner.
More to this side. To the door. And the Rebbe moved in. I'm standing there, right next to the
Shmuel came out of the bench.
He came out of the bench and moved away. So the Rebbe was trying to get into the bench.
But you were inside already.
And I was inside. So he moved away and the Rebbe came in. to the bench, and I'm standing right there, and I moved away. And the Rebbe sat down on the bench. And I'm standing there, everyone started pushing, and what happened to the table, there was a table there, and the bench started, the table started moving, and the Rebbe's feet could get stuck there. And I'm standing there, what I did was, instead of standing like this, I turned like this. So that the bench should give more space. And remember, it was just pushing. And the Rebbe started saying a maimer. Like Baimers, I think the Maimer was in the Matei Manoim Shebesach Gam Yochel. And Gabriel wasn't there. The Nebuchadnezzar came, I fell on my head to do Chazorah. I was listening, trying to concentrate on the Maimer. In the beginning, people were pushing. The Rebbe said, if you don't stop pushing, I'm going to stop the Maimer.
No, Maimer.
Towards the beginning. And they stopped. How could they stop? People started coming in and started pushing. The Rebbe said, the Maimer. So every time I come to 770, I walk upstairs and I come to that place, and what I do is I see this is the place where this happened. This is where the place where the Rebbe said, I was standing right next to it, not as close as this. Staying with the Rebbe.
You were standing with the Rebbe sitting?
The Rebbe was sitting and I was standing right next to him, and I was facing this way. I wasn't even standing this way like a normal stand. By bench, you stand this way by the table. I turn around.
So the Hemacha is from you?
So the nest was the Shmuel. So we saw Kadakov. He always had a tape. So in the middle of the Maimer, he came running with a tape. So the half of the Maimer is already a tape.
The Maimer would say you keep your also?
I wasn't there. I came after the Maimer. There was another time, that same year, the Shchedesh Nisan. Shchedesh Nisan, the Rebbe came, Maisi, the Sekretary, Rebbe Yosef in the Maimer. I remember it's like I'm only bringing this thing, not sometimes some people talk about themselves. I'm just trying to remind myself these special moments that you live. And what it does is, naturally, it brings the gaguyim. The gaguyim, the feeling being close to the Rebbe, that's what's Nichul, hope, and golden, like golden, hope, and goa. Golden, whatever, all these things. What would we not give to see the Rebbe? On the other hand, that's not the tachlis. The tachlis is not. The Rebbe did say you have to remind yourself to feel it. But the tachlis is to know that nevertheless, the Rebbe is with us. Otherwise, it's harder. It's like harder. It's like harder. It is 100% harder. You don't see the Rebbe. We know he's there. You know.
Is it harder only for those who saw the Rebbe and now don't see it?
I imagine even for those who didn't see also harder, but not the same. Not the same with the people who saw. Not only saw and were involved and saw. Now it's hard. It's hard. But you gotta. That's not what you want. It's not mochatim chazek ramoli. You gotta know that the Rebbe is there with us, and the Rebbe guides us, and we gotta do. And we take a seat. It's the biggest mefes that Rebbe did in all the years. We have the light and bochim. Born after Gimel Tammuz, Tziddish bochim, and this mamish. They're even again some Rebbe more than bochim in our time. I can tell you that. I see that. I deal with bochim. I know. So I deal with bochim in yeshivas. I deal with my children. I have, and I don't know where this comes from. How is it possible? How is it possible? And you know, they have special kirchas. So the door that's after Ashalei Yoda as Yosef has special kirchas. There's no question about it. Know the story that he tells. What's his name from Antwerp? He tells the story. There was a guy who was Chabad. Anyway, the bottom line is, once the king was American ships. And the bottom line is sent to the Rebbe and expected the Rebbe to say also, like everybody else said, all the rabbis he came to, told him it's a bad thing. Came to the Rebbe and they went by dollars, and he told the Rebbe, or the brother told the Rebbe, he's the guy because he wrote to the Rebbe. The Rebbe, the first thing the Rebbe says to him is, I'm jealous of you. Must have made a shik said, the Rebbe said, I'm jealous of you. What is that supposed to mean? And then the Rebbe says to him, Hashem does not give a person a test unless he gives a special kirchas. I don't have that test. So I don't have that special kirchas. You have that test, so you obviously have special kirchas. And they say he walked away, and that's the story goes. The story is true. I don't know if he told the story. He walked away, and he changed and he dropped it. That's the special kirchas. So the bochim and the light that the younger people have, which is basic, I think it's 60% of the body. 60% of 56% of Lubavitch were born after Gimel Tammuz, or after plenty were little babies by Gimel Tammuz. So how is this happening? That's the biggest mefes. No, maybe some people think that someone was sick and got healthy. You know the story with the Rabbi Rebbe, that there was this guy who was a Polish Chassid, and then he got this car of Chassidus Chabad, he became Dal Rebbe. And the Chaverim from the past bothered him and used to tell him, rather your Rebbe is a great tzaddik, this and that, but Meifsim you find by us, my Rebbe. The Rebbe wrote a letter to this Shapiro who was there with the car of him. I'm thinking of Pesach stuff, maybe somebody else. He wrote to him, you should be the car of this German, to be in the Chola Eis, Chola Eis, and that was, that to them it was a Meifis, the Alter Rebbe knew that you have to, he needs to do. He said the greatest Meifis is that you make from a bull eitz, make from a lotion of another or something like that. So it's the biggest Meifis of the Rebbe. That's true, and that's fine, it's good. But not so good. It's very good, but it's not so good. It's hard, it's hard to take it. Anyway, it's not good to just something, the bad thing you got to do. I had a whole argument with somebody, Farbrengen, I was talking about, what we're missing. No, you can't, you got to be simple, there's nothing, that everything is fine, that English need help. And we have the Kirchhoff, that everything else is good, and you made what I said was fine. 5 minutes later he said, L'chaim is l'chzem mit Rebbe. I said, l'chzem mit Rebbe. Was ist schlecht jetzt? L'chaim is, you just said now that this is very good, it's very good, everything is fine, everything is going fine, and everything is Kirchhoff. So why are you saying L'chaim is l'chzem mit Rebbe? The Rebbe is here, the Rebbe is, oh. So it's not good. It's part of Lubavitch. Lubavitch has always two opposites. The highest and the lowest. Look at the Sichas. Part of the motto of the Sichas is to connect the highest with the lowest. Look at every second Sichas like that. The highest with the lowest. Shemayim, they're connected. Opposite. Everything is opposites. On one hand, you have to feel this way. I have to feel this way. I have to be something. Oh, this is what Lubavitch is. Lubavitch is. It's a crazy group. It's crazy. But we won't give up this craziness for anybody else. The Sikha of the Rebbe from Tofshin Yud, the Aleph, he tells the whole story of the Polish Chassid. Different than Polish Chassid and Lubavitch Chassid. There's the Polish Chassid. He wants to go to his Rebbe. He goes to Rebbe, get a brocha. So he goes, and his wife is happy with him and gives him Tzedel, and he gets food, and he comes there, and he goes to the Yechidus, and he has the Rebbe brocha, and the brocha helps, and he davens, and he comes back, and he comes to Maila. What did they do? They ask him, no, what did you do? I was a chassid of this Rebbe, and I did what the Rebbe said, and that was fine. Lubavitch chassid, he goes, wants to go there, he comes there, first of all his wife is upset that he's going, he comes there, what does he do? He listens to a maimed, he doesn't understand the maimed, he has it over 50 times, and then, I'm not saying the exact words the Rebbe said, and then he doesn't match it, and then it's not that with the meaning. Anyway, goes into Yechidus, he can ask the Rebbe for a bracha for Gashmis, how to yes. Anyway, when he comes to Maila, they ask him, so, what did you do, Lorata? How? I tried to be a chassid, but I didn't manage to do it. He goes straight to Gan Eden. The other guy goes straight to Gan Eden. He goes straight to Gan Eden. But he said, you know what? We don't give up our Gehenna for their Gan Eden. Our Gehenna for their Gan Eden. There's a difference in the interpretation of what Gehenna is and what Gan Eden is. When they say, but the Rebbe Baal Shem Tov, the Chassidim used to say, a moshel. You know what happened? Gehenna is burning for thousands of years. Caught fire. Finally, it caught fire, and the whole Gehenna got burned down. So they had a whole meeting upstairs there. What do we do? So they started talking about plans of making the new Gehenna, how to build the new Gehenna. So one guy gets up and he says, Rabbi, I have an eitzah. Why should we build a new Gehenna? Let's make the whole Gan Eden into Gehenna and build a new Gan Eden. Oh, made it the Kinyonim. So they said, that's what happened. When the Baal Shem Tov came, he claimed, he brought us to understand that the old Gan Eden was really Gan Eden. Gan Eden is something else. Because I guess people think, what's Gan Eden? Yeshiv v'nanim zivach shchina. You enjoy zivach shchina. Now I enjoy chocolate cake. So the Gan Eden, I'm going to enjoy zivach shchina. Made it a kazach. But you know what the bottom line is? I enjoy. So it's you. So it's back to you. That's not, Chassidus tells that that's not Gan Eden. That's Gan Eden. care about yourself, it's Gehenim. Gan Eden is a completely different thing. Anyway, so L'chaim, L'chaim. Get to the right place and do the right thing.
Sure.
Very good.
But that means the word king.
Yeah,
Why not?
Could be.
No, it's on the tape.
Why not?
Look at the tape, yeah. It's a long time.
Emotional. Right.
And I think the Rebbe said the thing is I'm unique in the case.
We went to place where the
Seldom the Rebbe told us what's going on in Shemayim. But sometimes the last brother passed away.
Bro, you
right
speak
after.
English perfect. You don't need to translate.
Right after also, yeah.
Right after, end of Shiva.
This is speak.
they made a home in there and they put a lot of food there.
They told him
I
to
don't
begin.
I grew up. Spoke about my grandfather.
In the 50s.
So what do you see?
I was born 6 years later.
The whole is covered.
I know
There's one more name I have to sing. Which one is that? Do you remember?
Learn Hasidus.
Oh. So what's
But he didn't
No.
retire.
No, it's from
Yale, the Farbrengen said that once a Shapiro was Farbrengen, and he sings
Was There's a video of him. There's a video of him saying
That's another time, not the time when I heard him. When he sang it and he said these words.
Their friends, like,
Gates Mikvah and that. So there's
Abel.
together.
singing.
This year.
Then there's another thing. Do you remember the other thing? The Mashmanei.
That was before my time.
Oh, maybe before your time.
Like, not the entire year somewhere else.
But you were
Stereo?
Only for the summer. For
The Rebbe
Stereo?
Later, the Rebbe said to sing the Mashmanei al Biroz and the Taich. The Rebbe said that what's Mashmanei al Biroz? Mashmanei means our fast, the best. Shouldn't be mugged, shouldn't be lean. Who's the best?
They came here for like
Talmidim,
months.
they're the best.
And next
The Rebbe
year,
got up and
the guys
was
on
saying,
the radio,
I looked at Noach and
they're
didn't do justice.
And then you said,
it's very funny. You see them? You can't compare it to me. You're the only one.
You finished. You say the learning classes. Learning never ends, but now you go to the activity. That's what they say always. Learning never ends. Farbrengen never ends. The one translated, the Rebbe said, there was a whole bunch of Farbrengens, and the Rebbe told the story of, I think it was the Rebbe Shlegen. She was a little girl, she was once crying, and they wanted to calm her down. For some reason she was crying, so they gave her something. So she took it and stopped crying. She said, but I'm not stopping, I'm just I'm just interrupting the crying.
You're accepting Haramshim. It's good.
Yeah, tomorrow night if I'm bringing something
For us.
Okay, Tivas darf machen, Baruch Achreine will sicher machen, Baruch Achreine. It's Kiddush of the Rebbe, no. Someone wrote to the Rebbe that Baruch Achreine.
Guys, tomorrow Shachash 9:30. Remember the Bar Mitzvah letter.
What time? What time?
4. The mitzvah is 7:10. Shachash is 10 and the breakfast is 7:10. Shachash is 7:30. Right. I'm saying our Shachash is 9:30, but you want to be there for the Bar Mitzvah.
That was what we did. We wasn't discussing that on Zion. That's what bracha Achreinu.
Yeah.
And then also about the Shabbat.
Why?
Same terrain, right? Until then, what was the signet of the song? What was the question?
Whenever like there's somebody starting here.
Okay.
The only name that he said.
No, he says something.
Now when you go to sleep, you have to make a cheshbon nefesh. All they used to say, a chosid nicht unter the talus, under the colder. It's not under the talus, under your cover. Go to sleep and you're under your cover, no one knows what you're doing. Then you start making cheshbonos that no one knows and the truth. Be honest to yourself. Who held it? Who held it up the world? That's what it is. That's
Say goodbye. What? Let's get to 3:25 and then we'll end it. 10, 9, 8, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.